2026 meeting. Please silence your cell phones, pagers, and other electronic communication devices. Agendas and speaker request forms are located at the back of the chambers, so if someone has something to say, Brad, that includes you. You have to fill one of these out and come forward. So we're all here today, so we have a quorum, and we are going to be led with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Gary Drews. Thank you.
And I would just encourage you to, as we do the moment of silence, to keep our military in your thoughts and prayers. This does spin down all the way to Ellsworth Air Force Base, so keep all those in mind. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we're going to review and approve the agenda for today. I'll look for a motion.
So move.
Motion from Ross Connect, second by Hadcock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. We will move on to the minutes, and we need to, we're moving on to the consent calendar, but we need to pull the minutes. Sabrina, are you here? So we're going to pull item A.
And
Is there anything else that needs to be pulled?
yeah, I'd like to pull item E.
E? We'll pull
Yes.
A and E. Okay. Anything else? So I'm looking for a motion to approve everything but A and E.
Second.
Have a motion from Hadcock, second by Durr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. We'll move on to item A. And the auditor, Ms. Sabrina, can you tell us what we need to do here?
Sabrina Green, Pennington County Auditor. I'm asking that we pulled this because we need to do a correction to parcel 44084 to reflect the correct levy amount on the application of the abatement. So I have two motions. The first motion is to move to amend the February 17th, 2026 meeting minutes to correct the abatement amount for William B. Cowan, parcel 44084, from $3,518.64 to $2,852.94 on the consent agenda item D.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Drews, and a second by Durr to amend. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And then you had another one?
The second motion then would be to move to approve the February 17, 2026 minutes as corrected.
Okay.
So move again.
Second.
Have a motion from Drews, second by Durr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Sabrina. And thanks for an awesome job on that last election as we prepare for our new one. Okay, and we'll go on to item E.
And Mr. Chair, I would like to hold item E and not to discuss it until the state's attorney's office does her presentation.
Okay. So,
Number 10.
okay. So we can, do we need a motion to move E to 10, or do we just hold it
10,
until?
10B or something. You want to call it 10B, and 10A would be the presentation, 10B would be basically
Okay,
7E.
let's just do that. We'll move it to 10, 10B. B will be from the consent calendar, consent item, and we'll just keep moving on then. From 6E. Everybody concur with that, I guess? All right, fine, we'll move on to items 7, items from the public. Speaker request forms required, action will not be taken during this section. So if you come to talk today, we won't have any action on any of these items. We'll listen to you. So we do have one item from Lee Strubinger. Lee, if you want to come forward and then just give us your name for the record.
Yeah, it's Lee Strubinger. I'm the research and reporting director with the John T. Vukovich Foundation. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Lee.
2 weeks ago, the foundation approved a two-year request from Pennington County Human Services for discretionary funding to address gaps in the community, especially in the areas related to housing stability and basic needs. The foundation has partnered with Human Services on these discretionary dollars since 2008, and we know how important this funding is. As Director Barry Tice noted in his request to you, that the demand for this assistance continues to grow. And so I'm here to keep you apprised of what we're seeing at the foundation. Applications for assistance have tripled since before the pandemic. Affording essentials like housing is felt most by those who are working hard just to make it to the next paycheck. With our latest approval, the funds to Human Services have increased 25% from the last round, which was a 2-year grant approved in late June of 2024. We see this partially as a byproduct of current economic pressures in Rapid City and Pennington County. In the last 5 years, the average weekly employee earnings in Rapid City have increased by about 15%, whereas the median rent has increased twice the rate during the same period by 30%. The foundation is seeing an increase in costs associated with other adjacent programming as well, where the funding has increased and the dollars reach fewer people. But with that, we really want to lift up the use of this funding by the county, as it's highly responsive to needs in the community without the use of liens. Finally, we'd like to thank the County Commission for the support for Human Services, who we are proud to partner with on this discretionary funding to meet urgent needs in the community as they arise. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. We appreciate everything that the Vikirovich Foundation does for these citizens in their time of need. I think Barry runs a good operation, and you guys have been doing this for years, so thank you very much. So,
Thank you, Lee.
okay, and thank Lee. And item number,
Mr. Chair?
yes, go ahead.
The one I think we went by is item number 6, just recognizing the new employees.
Oh, we did.
We have to vote on the rest of the agenda as well, that we approved and then just moved, number 70. Did we vote on that?
We already did.
We did? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't.
So
It's
we
just the
didn't-
recognition of the new employees.
Yeah, was that, I missed that on here? Okay. So we'll recognize our new employees for, that we met earlier. They went back to their jobs. We don't have, do we have their names or anything? Okay. Thank you, Jordan. So, you can see the new employees that we have today, and we met most of them today here this morning. So, had a chance to meet as commissioners here. So, we don't need to have an motion on that or
No,
anything.
it's just
Just
a
acknowledge it,
welcome.
and I
See, the
apologize.
treasurer's office had a handful, so
Yeah, they did.
anyway. And then Brittany, the gentleman that got hired in her office, keyed my interest. I already joked with him that he's got some GIS experience, and so that's a good thing that we need in the county, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, appreciate everybody coming on board. Great group of people.
So Trenton, it sounds like you divulged too much information.
It's from West
We're gonna-
Virginia.
We'll definitely put them to work, so. Thank you, and thanks Commissioner Durr for reminding me of that. So now we'll move on to item number 8.
9A.
90.
What?
9A,
Oh, we're skipping 8?
we did it.
Okay, we're going to 9.
Is there just one public request?
Yeah, he may be looking at a,
Items from State's Attorney, we're moving that one down? Is that correct?
no.
Somehow I missed that. Am I on the wrong thing here?
Yes, you're on the wrong meeting.
Oh, Kenner, where are you at? My computer crashed like 2 seconds before the meeting started, and
We'll get you back on. You were looking at last meeting.
oh, okay. That's how I missed it. I apologize. First part of the meeting's all the same, so.
Mhm.
I had to hard restart my computer.
So you go 9A as well.
9A, special request for retail on-sale malt beverage, special off-sale malt beverage, so this would be the auditor. Sabrina, do you have any issues with this, or?
Sabrina Green, Pennington County Auditor. Just a couple of agenda items. The first one is looking for a motion to move to approve a special retail on-sale malt beverage, special off-sale malt beverage, and special retail on-sale wine retailer's license for Washmore Hockey Association at the Ladies of Laces Hockey Game fundraiser, 4 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. on March 10th, 2026.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion from Durr, second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Ms. Sabrina? You have the
And
floor.
the second agenda item is just a renewal of wine and cider license for No Bad Days Top Wagon.
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve.
Second.
First, we have a motion by Roskinick, second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's a good name. No
Yeah.
Bad Days Tap Wagon.
You visit the campground.
So we'll move on to item 10 now. Ms. Laura, State's Attorney's Office, if you want to come forward, you will have the floor.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm excited to be here today. I have a big announcement. As you know, Jay Alderman, who has served in the State's Attorney's Office for 30 years, will be retiring in June. So it was my privilege to assign someone to succeed him. So I'd like to formally introduce to the county our new Civil Chief Deputy. This is Adam Schiffer-Miller. Adam has been in the office for about 9 years. He graduated from the University of South Dakota and worked at Costello Porter Law Firm before coming to us. He's been in the criminal department and has just excelled there in both administration and in trial. So I'm thrilled that you'll get a chance to meet and talk to him today. And then along with that, Adam needed an assistant chief deputy. So it's my honor to announce that Tyler Sobczak is being promoted into the role of assistant chief deputy in the civil division. You all know Tyler well. He has been so impressive in the way that he has risen up and served the commission. And I look forward to both of these strong lawyers being totally committed and tied to the commission. So I'll stand for questions, and I'd like them to have a chance to talk to you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I'm just going to open it to the commission if you want to say anything. I know we've given Tyler a hell of a workout, so we appreciate him. So
He seems to be doing all right.
thanks,
So, yeah, Laura, my question's for you, and it relates to the personnel actions.
Yes.
So, there's been some other positions in the county where somebody is leaving and holding that position, and a department wanted to move somebody into that position, and we as a board in those departments have said, we're not going to have two people in the same position at the same time, because it gets back to when we approve the job descriptions, and that's one thing that we're getting to is budgeting by job positions and how many of those, to say how many of these positions are we going to fund. And it just came up in our equalization department. There was a situation in the sheriff's office where somebody was leaving and held that position and was going to be out for a while, and we did kind of an interim appointment to fill that position while somebody else is out, but we didn't give them that job title. And so when I see the change, and I know it's March, but if that position's not going to be vacant for 3 more months, then my question would be then, not has anything to do with the personnel, it's just the positions, then why do we have, 2 positions being funded and paid for at the same time if we already have somebody in that position? The way that I would see it is, Jay leaves in June, and then that position is, filled in June. That's my mindset.
Yes, thank you for the question, and I've thought through that as well. Historically, we've had 3 chief deputies in the Pennington County State's Attorney's Office. You might remember when I first took office, both Gina Nelson and Kevin Kroll were serving on the criminal side. So it's not uncommon for us to have 3 people in that role. And I really think that moving forward, just to red flag it for you all, it would be my intention to have 3 chief deputies on a consistent basis when I have the right person for those roles. It's not a position that you can just put someone in without a whole lot of faith in them because they have such tremendous responsibility. But ideally, I'd like to move to having a civil chief deputy, a criminal chief deputy, and then a chief of staff that took the high-level administrative responsibilities, in addition to the things that I do in that capacity, of course. So I did think about holding back Mr. Schiffer-Miller's promotion until Jay left. But the opportunity for service is there, the work is there, the financial capacity in my office is there, and so there's no reason that I can see to hold back on that at the current time. And just so I've said it, I really do appreciate the flexibility that I have in being able to move people between positions in my office. And I understand the commission might be going a different direction, but certainly I have to be responsive to the needs of my office right now. And sometimes that means I need different people in different roles. So I've appreciated the opportunity to do that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner.
My follow-up is going to be, and I know it's a change in philosophy to a certain degree, but it goes back to, and you know, at least I've talked about it the last year since being on the board. We went through the budget process, and the difficulty that I had in going through the budget process was getting a handle on the personnel headcount.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, it was very difficult to go through because I'm not used to just saying, here's my personnel expenses, you know, and go ahead and fund these and I will manage my personnel expenses. When I ask about how many job descriptions do we have in the county? And the HR director was, you know, oh, I think we have the numbers around close to 300, 275. Okay, in those we have, how many employees do we have? And then getting back to when you're setting a budget and then, you know, looking for us to approve a budget and then saying, how many job descriptions do we have? And then in these job descriptions, how many people fill these roles? So we have a deputy 1 or a deputy 2, correction 1, correction 2. We have, you know, these different classifications of employees, and then how many are authorized in those positions. And so that is one thing the Board of Commissioners can set is approve job descriptions, approve how many FTEs, part-time, full-time, et cetera, employment status, fill those positions, and that's the level that we fund. And the difficulty that I've had in the last year is, for me, getting a handle on the number of employees we have and how they're moving through. And I've heard, you know, a discussion was brought up one time, and I think during comp committee, that if we just have these job descriptions and there are job descriptions that are out there and we don't make it specific to a department, that I see that job description, I think it would fit in my department, so I'll just pull that and I'll use it in my department. I have it in this department over here. Oh, I think I need a position in my department. I'm just going to pull that job description. And for me, the only way that we can, you know, just get a handle on the budget and something that is in, you know, the budget is in control of the Board of Commissioners. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing against these gentlemen. It's just, we've already told other departments that have come to us and said, you already have somebody in that position. Can we come up with something else? Is there a different way to do this? And because looking at filling 2 positions, and then if you're telling me that you have, so in your budget you had how many chief deputies?
I think at the moment in time that we budgeted, we budget for the individuals, not for the position. So it is a completely different way of philosophy. But at the time we budgeted, it would have been for 2. We had 2 people in that role then, Gina Nelson and Jay Alderman.
Okay. So Jordan, it's a question from you because your office handled, and it was a change in this budget process wherein, you know, we were counting heads and we did the budget on the personnel, and I said it last meeting. And so we did, on the personnel budget, we did a 4% or 4.4% cost of living, or excuse me, 2.9% cost of living, about a 1.5 in the step increase. So it was about a 4.4% raise to the personnel budget countywide. And then we said for those larger departments that we're not funding longevity pay, we're not funding promotions, internal transfers that might be to a higher rate. We didn't factor that in the budget. And we said that in the larger departments, public safety, highway, et cetera, buildings and grounds, that we were cutting 3% and saying on an average of, was it 4% or 3%?
4%.
4%. So we cut 4% because we're looking at the fill rate over the last 5 years, trying to get a handle on that. So it was that ability to cut that and manage that to say that we can fund that pay increase of 4.4%.
Right.
And as we start this fiscal process, in a few months for 2027, we're trying to get a handle on the number of FTEs we have in the county and assigned positions, which is something that I know is a little bit different, but that's how I'm leaning into the budget process. So,
Yes, and I agree. I think there's a lot of work to be done in the county overall, but also in my office relating to those job descriptions. In fact, I have 2 that are in HR right now that I'm reconfiguring. You might remember I created that major crimes position maybe 2 years ago. And what I found is there wasn't a comparable opportunity on the civil side. So my civil attorneys who had 7 years of experience and who were doing very high-level work weren't making the same pay. So that's one of the changes I have in HR right now that I'll be coming back in front of you, unless HR doesn't require my appearance. I'm telling you about it, to expand that major crimes position to include all of the attorneys, which is what Mr. Witcher does in the public defender's office, and it's just something that in my job description wasn't captured. So I'm working through that, and then also with the assistant chief deputy position, expanding that so it very clearly includes that civil attorney work in addition to the criminal work. Otherwise, what you do is you end up with major crimes criminal, major crimes civil, assistant chief deputy criminal, and you end up with a bunch more job descriptions than we maybe need. So trying to look at those more expansively. And leadership opportunities, in my opinion, the county doesn't do enough to train good administrators and to help us be good leaders and to be instructive on what we need to do. And so that succession planning falls to the department heads and the elected officials, and that's fine, but this promotion opportunity that I have allows Adam to, he's going to be doing everything for a while, right? He's still managing all of my misdemeanor attorneys who, you remember, haven't even been out of law school for a year. He personally supervises all of them. He'll still be personally supervising that magistrate department. And then he's also learning from Jay Alderman, and Tyler is learning from Jay Alderman. So his work is way beyond a 40-hour work week, and I think he should be compensated for that, which is why I am here today.
And my follow-up, Mr. Chair, would be a couple comments. I can see where you're coming from. I'm trying to be consistent as an organization, and I think that's where the county is lacking, is that we don't have HR policies and procedures that are being implemented consistently across the county. And it's not anything about your department. I think you do a great job.
Thank you.
But when it comes down to the personnel that we manage and the budget that we manage, we don't have a handle on this, and everybody is acting independent. Not everybody, but we even have a policy that has come to my attention, and I've talked about it in comp committee, where an internal department has a policy that says this policy supersedes any policy approved by the Board of Commissioners. That policy doesn't exist when it comes to pay, benefits, and personnel that is owned by this board. And a follow-up, and I'm trying to be consistent with everybody. I see where you're coming from, but this has not been implemented the same across the other departments. And we've had other departments ask the same thing. And we have internally to those departments and sometimes publicly said, no, we need to go about this a different way. And the other comment I'm going to make is related to, I think the county in many departments does a great job on training and leadership, because I look at the invoices every month and we're paying for a lot of outside training and travel. And so I think some departments do a good job with leadership training and employee training and continued education, and the county spends a lot of money on that. I think there are other departments, obviously, that could probably do a little bit better. I also know, if you have somebody working nonstop, and you just can't put a pause on that workload and say, I'm going to go off for 3 days to a conference or training. I know that's not possible for a lot of our staff. So anyway, those are my comments, Board.
Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hadcock, you have the floor.
Thank you. Jerry pretty much said what I was thinking. It has nothing to do with the personalities or the people in the positions. Number one, Tyler is doing a replacement. So
Yes.
that was a no-brainer. You're replacing another a person that had left. I'm going to mention your name, Adam, but I don't mean that in a bad way. Adam is going to be replacing another person. So to be consistent, we did this with Trevor in the equalization. We did this with HR. Until those positions they take those positions, which I think in full confidence, Adam, I've seen your work, you'll do a great job. But paying for 2 positions, we have to be consistent throughout the county. And I think Mr. Adam and Tyler can do their jobs and probably already could do what they were doing before without needing more training. I think they've been doing this for a while. I appreciate what you're doing for the leadership. That's pretty cool. But moving that forward to be consistent with other departments, Laura, Tyler, no brainer. He got replaced. Adam, when you become the state's attorney, hopefully Laura pays you accordingly in that way. I think it's probably going to be more than 300 at that time, just because you'll be taking Jay's place, and that's a big person to fill. I totally agree with it. So today, unfortunately, I'm going to be consistent on yours, Adam, with what we've done with others, and Tyler is a replacement. So I won't be voting to move yours forward on your pay, not because you're not worth it, okay? Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner
You
Ross.
know, the only thing I was going to say, Laura, is when I heard Jay was retiring, I congratulated him. I said, you're looking forward to your next 10 years, and obviously he's not going to do another 10 years. But with that being said, I want to thank Adam in your new position, and Tyler, I want to thank you, and looking forward to working with both of you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Drews.
my understanding is the state's attorney's not asking for additional funds to do this promotion. And so I really stand opposed to trying to manage the dollars of a state's attorney's office. And so I'm going to support this promotion.
Chair.
Commissioner Hadcock.
One more thing is that we're also paying out Jay for his retirement as well. And I don't know if that's coming down to contingency or not. So that adds more to what's happening with the retirement as well. So we're not just absorbing, unfortunately, I hate that word because of what has happened in the past. We shouldn't be absorbing anything. And if we have to pay out that payout for Jay, which is consistent, which I'm okay with, you're doing a double pay almost. So that's also why. It's not because there's not enough money in there. You got to be consistent. There was probably enough money in the other 2 people's budgets, which Shannon did say there was money in those budgets to support those promotions, but we did not do it. So for me, again, to be consistent in that payout that's coming, let's take care of our people and let's move them forward. And still, in your leadership roles, I welcome that. Thank you.
I guess I got to, Jordan, how much difference is that going to make if we do this today versus waiting? Is Jay leaving in June? What part of June?
Yes, yep.
The 1st of June? last
Mr.
of
Alderman's
June?
leaving, I think it's the 3rd of June, whatever that pay
So
period
you
start
got-
date is. And it's my understanding that all of his retirement payouts will come out of my budget, and I have
Right.
planned for that. And the only other comment I wanted to make is that I appreciate that you're trying to be consistent in policies,
Right.
but there isn't a policy right now. There's just a practice. And so I have concerns about imposing a practice without a policy and having it applied perhaps discriminatively against my department. I would object to that.
Jordan, can you tell me the dollar amount difference?
I cannot yet. It'll take a little bit to calculate.
Because
It would appear that it's maybe $1,100.
okay.
I think the total impact was around 4,000, so I would imagine
Oh.
just for 3 months, it would be about $1,000.
And we are, I would be being a little bit inconsistent here, but there's also a little bit different situation in the fact that in the assessor's office, typically there's a succession plan in the city or in the county when someone leaves, and for whatever reason, the assessor's office is a little bit different. Their assistant's not leaving, and he's not taking the upper position, so it's a little bit different there. And also, I had the conversation with Tyler earlier before his promotion. We had a long conversation about pay and attorneys and that type of stuff. So, I think I can probably support this going forward. And it has nothing to do with you, Adam, or anything. It just has to do with our policy not being consistent and trying to get it consistent as Jerry speaks and, putting it across the board. We need to get better at that. We're working on it. When we inherited this, we inherited a lot of a lot of payroll issues, which people are seeing right now. There's a lot of discrepancies in policies and stuff like that. I don't know that, you could say it's inconsistent or not inconsistent. I think it'd go either way, so. But, Jordan, did you get a number? Is it?
Working on it.
Okay, so, I mean, just,
Mr. Chair, one other thing I did need to bring to your attention, you did not see Tyler's promotion in your consent agenda today. That's still working its way through HR and will likely have to be before the board in 2 weeks, so just red flagging that for you.
And
Commissioner
Mr. Chair,
Duggan.
I just have a follow-up. It goes off of what you mentioned, Laura, because we do see some of these anomalies and a couple of them in the last couple of months, and I know we're a little bit of a gap in the HR office, but we still have an HR office. And I've seen some of this stuff come in front of the commission on some of these anomalies in pay and stuff that have not been shopped through the HR office. And when we do these, they need to be shopped through the HR office and HR telling us, is this budgeted, not budgeted? Is this, within our practice that we're trying to implement, et cetera? So does HR support it? Do they have concerns? Those are the things related to the personnel that I would we don't have a current HR director, but we do have an HR office. I would like that stuff shopped through the HR office and come and have that memorandum on the agenda like we used to have.
I would think this is an opportune time for us to, I think what you're catching from us is we're moving in a different direction. So, Commissioner Hancock, did you have something to say?
Just a couple of things. I think when you have different policies and promotions or different things, what's happened in the past has been not good. To not know all the information and know your budget and how it affects it, for me, I think it is consistent. I think you need to know the numbers, and we know from the past and the deficit that we had and the 290 job descriptions that I've never seen in my life with 800 employees. So for me, to bring promotions forward and to bring things forward now before people have even retired, to me looks like the same consistency that used to be in the past with some of that, and then come out later and say, I need a supplement, or somebody plays the game and puts it somewhere else so it looks like they have money, or they use their employees that are not hired yet. So for me, not to see all the information as well and to say that you absorbed it in your budget or you have it in your budget, I need to see your budget and I need to see where that's going to be consistent. So if you have that when you do Tyler, that would be, and for anybody, for this board to move forward in a consistent way to be able to see that, because I'll keep saying that absorption was $12,647,000 plus an $8 million deficit the year after with just employees. And that's why it kind of gets me a little bit when I don't have all the information. Now, your leadership and everything you guys are doing and what department heads do, I totally agree with. I'm just a little skeptical anymore because of what has happened in the past, and you already know I should be. I tried to tell people that over and over again, but people just kept voting and kept voting until the point that we figured this out later. I don't want this to be later. I want to make sure that we know that your department is covered and it's not using other absorbed money from other areas to be able to make that budget. And that's not just yours, Miss Laura, that'd be anybody else's, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep, Commissioner. Go ahead.
Thank
have
you.
the floor, Laura.
Mr. Chairman, I have been nothing but transparent, and the fact that I'm standing here today is indicative of that. I've brought money through, all of my things have gone through HR. I have been a team player. I'm feeling targeted right now in that I have a budget that I manage. Since I've been state's attorney, I've never gone over budget. I've always been within the bounds of my budget. I've never asked for a supplement. I'm responsible with my money. I'm responsible with my staffing. It's a constant struggle every day to maintain the staff that I have. I can't pay them competitively with other attorneys. You're looking at two of the finest attorneys in this city, and we should be grateful to have them. And I think compensating Mr. Schiffermiller for 3 months to the tune of $1,200 is, it's important that we support people through those transitional roles. That's all I'm seeking to do. I have the money to pay for it. And again, I've been nothing but transparent with this board about money.
I'm not sure that what it comes down to. And I think you're actually maybe the victim of some of our policy changes. So, Jordan?
Not a victim.
Oh, yeah, which part did you want? Did you want what
Just
the
the dollar amount
approximate
for-
dollar amount would be for a change? It's around $3,000 of a budget impact, counting taxes.
I just want the
retirement, and
commission.
For what
commission
period
to
of
be-
time, though?
For just the three months of, from doing it in March as opposed to if it were done in June.
So I just have one last follow-up. So Laura, I appreciate the fact that you always come up and you present your information. We don't always have to agree, but, you know, I'm not, I get the feeling that sometimes when questions are asked, people feel, you know, like I'm being attacked, and I can get it if it goes personal. And I'm not, this has nothing to do with the two gentlemen and their skill sets. It's to do with the consistency of the organization. And that's my concern. You brought up about the fact maybe you felt like you're being targeted, or there could be discrimination at a certain level. And that's my concern, that if we're not consistent as an organization, and that's my number one concern I have right now as a commissioner, is one, our budget and our finance, but it's about taking care of the employees that we have in the organization. And I am hearing feedback from departments and employees that we're not operating consistently, and that they feel like there is some treatment that's not fair as to what one department can get and another can't get. And I'm going to say this, when it comes down to, and we have this disparity because we talked about giving doing the budget process and tying a step increase to basically performance, and I've talked about that. And then the feedback that I heard, was, well, you're going to get sued. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do those things. And really, when we're talking about trying to be fair and consistent, that's what I'm looking for. And I'm not saying that you're not fair and that you're not inconsistent. I appreciate the fact that you come up and we have these conversations. But I too have a role as a commissioner. And the one thing that the Board of Commissioners owns and is in charge of is the policy and direction of the county, the fiscal management of the county, setting the budgets. And we approve and authorize the FTEs and the positions and the pay and the benefits. So when it comes down to the personnel aspect of it, that is funded with the authority of the Board of County Commissioners. And I think that some people, I get the pushback that they don't recognize that. Not that we want to micromanage, but we have to set a practice and policy that is consistent. And that is my greatest concern that I have right now is we are not consistent across the organization. And so it's got nothing to do with these two gentlemen. This board has already told a couple other departments in a situation similar to this, no, and I'm going to be consistent, so.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
my concern, both as it applies in this situation and as it applies as your attorney moving forward, the problem is when you try to implement a procedure before it's a procedure. So that's what I'm seeing happen. To change, for example, using your example of the merit-based raise, after months of people have gotten it without a merit tie, it's applying something like that, a policy midstream, that gives me concern as a lawyer and also gives me a concern as an administrator, because it's absolutely 100% consistent with what you should be doing and what I think your taxpayers want you to do to set policies that we can be consistent with. The problem is when you're applying a policy without it being a policy, there's just no way to apply it fairly. And so, again, I'm worried about the department heads and elected officials that don't feel strong enough or transparent enough to stand in front of you and tell you this is what I'm doing with my money and this is how I want to spend it. Right now, there's no policy that says that I can't do it. So if I have the money budgeted and I want to compensate someone during a short period of training, I would hope that the commission would support that.
Chair,
All right,
One more thing. Just one more.
This is a no action item, so we're really, let's wrap it up.
no, it is, with 7E, we got to vote on it, don't we? Still?
We're not voting on this item.
It's personnel.
Yes,
It's approving
70 is.
personnel on consent.
Yes.
Oh, that what this, oh, that.
Remember we
that's
moved
the
it
item
to
we're on
10.
now? Okay.
Okay.
I thought we were, okay, fine, okay, yep.
Okay.
Maybe item
Sorry.
E.
I forgot about 9, the E, right?
Correct.
We moved E, okay, I'm sorry.
Can I interject real quickly, Commission?
Yeah, Tyler.
Just for what it's worth, I don't believe you made the motion to discuss those in totality. So if you're going to go ahead and discuss about just the B matter, I would recommend, just for the record, going ahead and just saying, are you done with 10A? We're on 10, right?
10A.
10A and just moving to 10B,
I'd
just
like
to
to
keep
finish
things clear.
10A then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So wait. 10A is what?
What we're talking about.
It was
Is her-
Laura's presentation.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I'm talking on.
That's what I'm reining in then.
Okay.
I'm gonna rein that in because she came forward to talk about it. If we want to go on to the consent item, then we need to finish this item and move on to the consent item where we actually talk about approving or disapproving.
But I would just like to read what she had put on 10A. It says, upon the retirement of the current civil chief deputy, J. Alderman Adam Schiffler will be promoted to the position of civil deputy state's attorney. It doesn't say on this, that's why I didn't think you were consistent, let alone being consistent with the other people, because that tells me he's not getting promoted until Jay's leaving. So I got confused with you paying him more money and telling me today that he was going to be in that role and he should be paid in that role. That has nothing to do with policy. That has something to do with what you wrote. And it has nothing to do with your department. It has everything to do with everybody's department. Because we know from before when everything was done behind the scenes, it wasn't consistent. And I never heard anybody come up here from your office or anybody else, Ms. Laura, about consistency. I said now it's going into consistency and feeling that you're having issues with us talking about this. Has nothing to do with your department. It has everything to do with consistency across every department in Pennington County. And because of that, it has nothing to do with these two guys either. It has something to do with how we run our departments in a way so everybody feels like they're part of the team.
All right, I'm gonna roll on here.
Thank you.
We're gonna bring 10A to an end. There's no action that required that. And we're gonna go back to item E from the consent, and we'll talk about item E, the personnel action report. So we have comments about item E.
Thank you, Commissioners. Always a pleasure.
Okay, so item E.
I think it's been discussed.
Okay, so somebody want to make a motion on item E?
Move to approve.
So motion to approve?
If you approve, it does have the action of the promotion that was just discussed in item 10A.
Right,
So just
right.
letting you know,
That's what
letting you know.
I was trying to make sure we were on that item versus talking about the
And
presentation.
that's my motion, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion from Ross Connect, a second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
All right.
So 3-2, motion carries. So we'll move on to item. Okay, item 11, items from planning and zoning. We don't need to go into the board adjustments yet, right?
Yeah.
We do?
Yeah, so
Move to go
Cody Sack,
to the Board of Adjustments.
Senior Planner. The first three items are on the Board of Adjustment, so it does need to be the Board of Adjustment.
Okay.
Yeah, I did
We
make
have
that
a motion
motion.
from Ross Connect, second by Hadcock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are in the Board of Adjustments. Okay. And so we'll move on to item 11. Cody, you have the floor.
Okay, so item 11A is a agenda submission request on behalf of the Towers, Matthew Lucklum. He is in the audience. He will discuss this in more detail. But they are requesting that the board reconsider variance COVA 25-0019, which was denied at the December 16th Board of Adjustment meeting. They're requesting, they have some additional information that was not presented at the meeting. So they're hoping to get that reconsidered on April 21st.
So has your position as a planning department's position changed?
No, our position has not changed.
Can you reiterate that for us? Because we seen this once.
Yeah, so our recommendation was to deny variant COVA 25-0019 as there was no special conditions that it warranted a variance. But they have some additional information that they feel the board may consider a different opinion than what the planning department had.
Well, it already came to us once, though.
Correct. So what they're requesting is that, similar to a different item that happened, the board can move to reconsider that variance. It'd be re-advertised with that new information.
Okay. Well, I guess then they just want to propose the new information to us.
They want to request that that the board reconsider the variance at the April 21st meeting. They do he has some supplemental information in here, but I believe they'll have more at that April 21st meeting as well. But I'd let him speak on that.
So they want to come forward, and then the board will decide if, do we have to decide this, or is this an automatic thing that they can do this, or?
Well, make a motion to continue, I'll make that motion
Do
eventually.
we need to continue it, or do we just need to, we have to make a motion?
You'd have to make a
reconsider.
motion to reconsider,
Okay, well,
correct?
then that'll be my
So
motion.
do you guys
when we
want
get
to
that.
hear the information that they has, or do you just
Move-
want to
move the-
reconsider it? Okay.
Move to reconsider and then, for discussion.
Second.
There's a motion to reconsider, and we're going to have a discussion on this motion. So before we vote on it, let's hear what they got to say. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
No, to hear it, don't you?
Thank you. If you just want to give us your name, huh?
Sorry, Ron. I think you have to vote on it to be able to reconsider it and him to talk.
Okay, then if we vote on it to reconsider, then he might as well just go home and come back when we reconsider it, right?
Yep.
Right? Yeah. So are you guys comfortable with that? I'm comfortable with that.
You okay with that?
Well, Commissioners, my name's Matt Lucklum. I'm here on behalf of the Towers. Just to clarify, what you're discussing is that you would vote to reconsider it, and then it would be kicked out to the next hearing, wherein I would present the information at that hearing for you to reconsider. Is that my
Everyone
understanding
understand that?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and we did get packets. In our packets, I saw everything that you presented. It made things a lot more clearer.
Okay.
So I think that was good due diligence to do that, and
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to set up a date to reconsider. So all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We'll set up a date for you to reconsider, so when you come forward with all that information or
It'll be-
provided ahead of time.
The
Corey.
date should be in the
It'll be the
motion.
April 21st.
April
is-
21st,
yeah.
so that's the date that Ron said, April 21st. So thank you.
Thank you, the board.
Thank you.
Is that the
Move on to
date,
the-
Cody? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would suggest on items D and E, we discuss them together because they're the same property and vote on them separately.
We're on B and C.
Yeah.
D and,
B and Cs.
we're on still B and C? I
Yeah,
thought that
B
was all the
first.
same.
No.
So there's also someone on Zoom for these. I don't know
Okay.
if he had a comment for A.
Well, we've already voted to reconsider it, so
Okay.
we're going to reconsider it. So but the time to do that would be when we're reconsidering it, I think.
Okay.
So,
Right.
now we'll move on to B, which is this the same item?
So no, B it's the same property. Cody Sack, senior planner. Item B is variance COVA 25-0020. The applicant is the Towers and the landowners Mark Erickson Living Trust. Staff is recommending to continue variance COVA 25-0020 to the April 21st Board of Adjustment meeting. That way, all the items can be heard on the same meeting date.
So the reconsiderization would be first, and then these two items? Okay,
Yep,
perfect.
correct.
Does everybody understand that?
Yeah, move to continue.
So,
Move to continue to
have
April 21st.
a motion to continue. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Item C, that would be the same.
Yep, item C is variance COVA 25-0022. Staff is recommending to continue the variance to April 21st, 26th Board of Adjustment meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion from Hadcock, second by Ross Connect. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on
Chair,
to
now I
item
would suggest that we discuss item
D.
D and E together, same property, and then we'll vote on them separately.
Okay, is everybody good with that? Well, I mean, if it's the same property, two different motions that have to take place. So Jason, if you could help us out here.
In just 1 second. I think this mouse is working.
The issue is that it's now a touch screen as well, so the, oh boy. No, that is not working.
Try this, I guess. There we go. Let's see how that goes.
Get you another mouse.
All right. Jason Thennison, Assistant Planning Director. Agenda item D and E. are variance requests. The first one is variance COVA 26-003 to reduce the required setback to a property line. The next request is a variance COVA 26-0004 to reduce the required setback to a section line. These both are regarding the same property. The applicants are Todd and Deborah Proctor. Location of their property is 23025 Mystic Road. It is 9.74 acres, currently zoned agriculture district. Access is off Mystic Road, and there is 100-year special flood hazard area on the property. So staff does take a two-prong approach when they consider variances to determine if they are warranted or not. You can see those two separate variance requests on the screen. Prong one is at the top of each one of those tables. It determines whether granting the variance runs counter to public interest. You can see all of those are checked no. We did not find that they do run counter to public interest. And prong two down below discusses whether a special condition exists on the property to grant variance. And staff found that topography definitely plays a role on this property and does grant or does determine whether the special condition does exist on the property to grant the variance. So this is the survey that the applicants submitted. You can see here, it's kind of hard to point out, but you can see the red box. That is basically the setback line for this portion of the property. The proposed structure is there. It's the box. You can see there's an 18-foot reduction from the property line, as well as a 40-foot or a 41-foot setback from the section line on the left-hand side. I apologize, this technology isn't letting me point very well. So, like I said, there is topography on the property that does inhibit development. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen there is significant topography, as well as special flood hazard area with the blue hatching. Location of the development is where the red star is, and you have Mystic Road going through the center of the property. I did perform a site visit back in November, took some pictures. You can see this is the proposed location, kind of where that van is parked. He has it staked out there. So this would be viewing, looking east. You can see Mystic Road in his driveway in the forefront. Again, another angle, this would be looking north from the middle of the driveway. And here I just kind of graphically depicted along a fence line where that section line would be. One of the setbacks that he's are asking to reduce.
Jason, that section line's never gonna have a highway on it.
Yeah, and this is kind of leading into this next photo. This would be the view looking north where that section line is actually located off of Mystic Road. It would take a relatively significant undertaking to develop that, so staff doesn't feel that this would ever be developed, considering Mystic Road is already in place. And this is the property zoning. So
we're handling both these items together, Commission, so if you
So
have questions on either one of these items.
Here.
Yes,
just a
Commissioner Adcock.
motion?
Yep.
Just a motion?
Yeah, no, there is no motion on the floor?
No. So I move approval because of the topography with one condition and the steep grades and the flood hazard. So I do move approval because of those reasons.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion from Hadcock and a second by Roskinek. Anybody, Commissioner Drews, you guys have any questions on this item? None?
No,
So
but you're doing just one at a time, right?
we're doing one at a time. Yep.
Mr. Chair.
This will be for the first D, right? D?
Yeah,
Item D.
variance 26003.
We'll do the first item, then we'll do the second item, so.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And there would be one condition included with each one of those requests.
Okay, and that includes the conditions.
Yes, I did.
Approval as outlined from
Yes, sir.
so, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Move on to the next item, which is E, which is the same property, so, same situation.
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve COVA 26-0004 with one condition.
Second.
A motion from Roskinek, second by Hadcock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move to come out of Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Have a motion to come out of Board of Adjustments in a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned from the Board of Adjustments, so we'll move back to the regular planning agenda. And would this be Miss Brittany?
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Hand, Planning Director. Item F is public hearing of Ordinance Amendment OA 25-18 to amend Section 322, the Special Animal Keeping Regulations for Pennington County. And this was continued from the January 20th, 2026 meeting. Just a little history on this. Staff did meet with several members of the community to discuss these regulations. The members included longtime residents with strong agricultural backgrounds. It was communicated that the current ordinance, which relies primarily on numerical limits, does not always reflect the realities of a rural, agricultural-oriented community. So basically, a set number of animals does not automatically create a problem. So they recommended that the update would move the ordinance away from a quantitative approach, which would be a number per acre, and more of a qualitative nuisance-based standard. So that is what staff is recommending based on the meetings with those staff members, and it's a 2-page ordinance update. It's a complete rewrite of the one that was proposed at the January 20th, 2026 meeting. And actually with research, when we met with the community members, it actually kind of goes back to what our original ordinance was back probably in 2008, 2006, where it was more of a qualitative approach. And during that time, I was actually in the office at that time. We had not a lot of complaints on that. It seemed to work at that time. So staff did feel that this qualitative approach is workable, and it's something that our office could do.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I'm just going to say one thing. I want to thank the crew for all the time they spent on this. And this is also reflective of what Commissioner Durr has been putting together with, and it's also reflective of policy changes like we talked about earlier about once we get these policies changed and it'll stop. This will keep happening is when someone gets reported for a nuisance violation, they can't just point to the neighbor and say, well, that neighbor has 3 horses. Well, that neighbor's horses are all well kept, clean, and they have proper fencing, all that stuff. So I think this is a good motion, and I'm going to move down here to Commissioner Hadcock.
Actually, that's what I was going to do. I had a lot of phone calls and worked with the planning on some of this as well. And I appreciate all the work you guys put in this to make this happen for the people that had a lot of concerns that would be mostly affected by the ordinance. So that's some really good teamwork that you guys did, and I like what you came up with quantitative, meaning you don't need to go by how many animals or how many, it has to do with the quality, basically based on nuisances, and that usually works a little bit better. And you're right, Commissioner Weifenbach, somebody with 1 cow you might not even know the cow's on the property, but someone with 1 cow might be a nuisance. So in the way that they're not nice to their animals, or however you want to say it. So I appreciate all the work you guys put into this. This wasn't easy. You came back a couple times, and then you got it right. So listening to the people in the audience, listening to people that give you phone calls does make a huge difference. So thank you for all the phone calls we got us too. It does make a difference, and we do change things based on your information as well. So
I have a couple speaker request forms on this item, and I'm sure Commissioner Durr wants to speak, but did you want to hear these people before you speak?
Let the public speak first.
Okay. So Dan Mullally, if you're here. And then next will be Sherry, and Sherry will be speaking on behalf of someone else also. So, but Dan, if you just want to give your name for the record.
Thank you. My name is Dan Mullally, 6390 Longview Road in Rapid Valley. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I apologize if I'm redundant here, but I'll stick to my script. I'm here to speak in favor of this new animal ordinance. My wife and I have been here 38 years. We have 6 acres and have horses, alpacas, chickens. Always managed our animals well and respected the effect on our neighbors. We never had any complaints. I, along with other residents, met with Brittany Hand and staff and gave our input on this. This ordinance reflects and preserves the rural nature of an unincorporated areas of Pennington County while moving to a more qualitative metric, not based on numbers rather than the current quantitative one, which is based on number of animals. It strikes a fair balance between protecting agricultural practices and addressing real impacts on neighboring properties. By focusing on nuisance conditions like odor, runoff, and sanitation, rather than rigid animal limits, it gives flexibility to responsible residents while still providing clear authority to address problems when they arise. This is good for now, and it will be good into the future. For those reasons, I support its approval. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Mullally. Sherry, are you available here? And then I'm going to give you a little bit of flexibility because I know that you and some of the other people that couldn't be here spent some time. So what if you could try to be?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Sherry Nutter, and I live at 6600 Longview Road. I've been a resident at Longview in Pennington County for 25 years. I'd like to, and thank you, Chair, I'd like to start with my neighbor, Patty Bruner, who couldn't be here this morning, and her comments. Good morning, Commissioners. I would encourage the support of the updated ordinance. It is more user-friendly and better reflects the character of Pennington County. It defines type and keeping of livestock well versus space required. I believe people get involved with animals but do not always have the background or knowledge they need. I was raised on a ranch, so understood from a young age what it took to care for and house animals. The further that people get from the ag background, the less they understand. Some have not had the opportunity to participate in 4-H or FFA. That being said, I think some thought could be given to educational resources, i.e. SDSU, online courses, or webinars for people who do wish to learn, or maybe to help in diffusing an issue with the neighbor. Livestock of any type can be beneficial in support of the food chain, financial income, developing youth responsibility, connection, moral support, and overall mental health. Thank you so much for taking the time to review this ordinance. Respectfully, Patty Bruner. And I just want to, I guess, concur what Dan and Patty have already commented on. I want to first just thank Brittany and her team, Commissioner Durr and Chair Weifenbach and Dwayne with enforcement, that they would allow a group of county residents like us to come together and collaborate on some changes that we feel really are good for keeping the ag industry and the ag community in the forefront of our ordinance. I want you to know that when we started, we actually did research some of the neighboring counties just to see what they might have that we could best practice from. And it was very interesting to see that none of the neighboring counties had any ordinances that were quantitative in measure or had numeric limits. We even researched beyond Meade County and, Fall River, Lawrence County. We researched Minnehaha, knowing that Sioux Falls is a bigger metro area like Rapid City, and they too were very qualitative in nature. It was really kind of neat to find on theirs that they had a statement, kind of like what Brittany has added in ours, that they had an overriding concern for supporting and preserving their ag surrounding communities, and that was a big part of why their ordinance read the way that it did. So we did best practice that from Minnehaha. As we all know, Rapid City was founded as hay camp, so it's no question that we have roots deeply embedded in the ag industry. If you look at our surrounding communities in Pennington County, New Underwood, Hermosa, Wall, even just the outskirts of Rapid City, you can see our Western heritage and way of life is very strong. It is no chance occurrence that the Black Hills Stock Show, which we are the home of, brings over 300,000 attendees to its ag events. And that's something that I think we as residents are very proud of, and I know you are too. And I think that as we grow and develop, it's really important that we continually keep at the forefront protecting and preserving our ag industry, our ag communities, our way of life, and our Western heritage. Thank you for considering this amendment. I really appreciate your concerns and all your consideration.
Thank you. Commissioner Drews, did you have anything to add to this? Anybody over here have anything? And then I'm going to let, I know Commissioner Drews put a lot of work into this, and this is very comprehensive into how we're going to be approaching a lot of nuisances in the future, so it behooves people to pay attention to what we're doing here. We're tightening up some of the restrictions and covering some of the nuisances, but trying to stick to our overall comprehensive plan. So, Commissioner Durr, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, it just
Sure,
goes,
you're fine to sit down.
yeah, it just goes back to when, this initially came up, through an enforcement effort, and then looking at the ordinance that we had and how we're implementing and doing it just based on complaints, and getting back to the equity, and then looking at the ordinance that, and again, I've referenced it, was kind of put together by people that moved in from out of area into our rural way of life, really, that we still hold and value, and then coming up with an ordinance that got 3 years ago that was, if you had a sheep that weighed over 150 pounds, it's now a large livestock, and talking about the number of animals per acre, not getting into what we're looking at now about, are you keeping the property up? So basically, we had an ordinance that, was problematic to enforce and regulate and wasn't consistent, and getting back to involving the community and saying, this is really what is applicable. It should be, and again, just going back to the government not over-regulating and telling people how to live their lives. And so getting the community involved turned out to be a positive thing. Appreciate all the work that Dan and Sherry and Patty Bruner put into this. And I appreciate the fact that, Brittany and the planning staff were open to holding the meetings that we did and the correspondence and having the meetings with the people that are impacted on this. And Patty Bruner is a good example that, the anomaly we have living just into Rapid Valley. And the old ordinance, like I'd said before, had, a big impact talking about supporting our youth. It had a big impact on our 4-H families if we were actually to go implement it. And, we're trying to encourage that rural life and that heritage and involvement. And anyway, it's just a good thing that we tapered this back. And Brittany, I've got a question.
Brittany, if you want to answer Commissioner Durr's question, that'd be
In
awesome.
the ordinance, I didn't see reference to a capon.
A what?
A capon?
Oh, no.
Okay.
So we don't even know what a capon is.
So, yeah.
Some of you out there probably do.
Kind of the funny one is, we were calling out roosters and different things, so anyway, but, so the motion on this, because we don't have a motion on the agenda, the motion on this would to approve first reading, is that correct?
Correct. So the reason there wasn't a motion is because the original motion from the Planning Commission was on a previous ordinance, and because this is a new, it was a rewrite, this was brought forward, so.
So the motion would be what?
For this new, not to take the Planning Commission's motion on the original ordinance amendment, it's on the rewrite.
So this would be the rewrite. We'd
Correct.
make a motion.
So is it approved first reading of the rewrite?
Yes.
That's my motion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Roskinek.
Second for discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to read a couple sentences from the staff report. The recommended update would move the ordinance away from a quantitative approach to a qualitative nuisance-based standard. Instead of focusing on how many animals are present, enforcement would focus on whether a property is creating a nuisance or posing a health and safety concern. And I love this idea. I'm going to support it. But my concern is that when somebody's got a legitimate complaint basis based on health and safety, we need to be looking at that, and we need to enforce it. Yep. There's got to be consequences to the folks that don't obey the law. And that's something we're gonna probably have a little more work involved in this, but we need to set a standard that people that don't conform to this, that there's going to be consequences if they don't clean up their act.
Correct, and I think that's further in our discussion here that we, obviously expect that particular consequence, and it's going to cost money also, so we're going to have to put money aside to abate properties for people that don't think that they have to take us seriously. I think that there's been some feedback from the Planning Commission because we have kind of started being more proactive in some of these areas with people cleaning up their properties. We're getting some good responses, but now we're getting to the point where I think there's some hearings coming up. Is it today?
Yes.
Today, there'll be some hearings in front of us today. And so that's when the rubber meets the road with us as commissioners to say, are we committing to this? And I'm assuming that we are, but that'll be part of the process because there's a lot of complaints in the area, and it's been in the past just kind of trying to work with people. But we get down with some of these people that, for whatever reason, just don't want to. We have to either find are they not able to comply, or they just don't want to comply. So they'll come to us. They'll have a hearing on what their, vision of seeing what's happening, and we will have ours, and then in some cases, it will require us to go out there and actually clean the property up. So, and then we will have to commit, like Commissioner Roskinick has brought forward. So, that being said, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll move on to the next item.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Brittany, do we need a motion to set the second reading?
So that'd be it. Because we haven't had this one in front of the Planning Commission, that would be my question for Tyler. Just because this is a whole different rewrite and the Planning Commission hasn't seen this
Did
one.
you want to come forward, Mr. Tyler? We're counting on you, brother. We just gave you a raise. Get up here.
It's
Oh, you
a
didn't get that
completely
yet?
different.
Oh,
That's 2
okay.
weeks from now.
That's why he's slow.
Tyler Sobzak, State's Attorney's offer. My interpretation of this is similar to like how we treated wind and solar. You got the recommendation up from the Planning Commission and then amended it too. So I think we just need the first reading, set a second reading, and go from there. So
Thank you.
with notice, I'm trying to think, probably 2 meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we got a month from now?
Sorry. We have 2 meetings in April. If it's the first one, it would be April 7th. The second one would be April 21st.
April 21st.
So we got a motion for.
I'm going to make a motion to set second reading to April 21st.
The motion from Durr and a second from Roskinick. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Brittany, and we'll move on to the next item. This is the public
Item
hearing
G.
on the.
Okay. Public hearing of Comprehensive Plan Amendment COCA 26-0001 to amend the existing Comprehensive Plan View to 2040, Section 3, Land Use and Housing Element for Pennington County. This was continued from the February 17, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting. This Comprehensive Plan Amendment under the Land Use section would change the language to reflect the Board of Commissioners' request to allow wind and solar in industrial zones versus other zoning districts within the county. So this change under this land use section would reflect that.
Thank you, Brittany. I have a couple speaker request forms. One from Eileen Peterson. Are you here, Eileen? We want to come forward and give your name for the record, and then we'll allow you to make your comments on item 11. It's important people to pay attention to the comprehensive plan. It's something that in the past is a lot of people just overlook it, but when people move into neighborhoods and stuff, they kind of try to make a plan, and you heard us talking a lot about abatements and that type of stuff, or having things that don't fit in certain areas and stuff, and then people complain about it later. But if you move into an area and you see that it's zoned agricultural, expect it to be agricultural. If you move into an area that's zone multifamily, expect that to happen, and this is why we spend time with the comprehensive plan. So Eileen, you have the floor.
Eileen Peterson, just speaking in support of both of the items on the agenda for the comprehensive plan.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe industrial siding is the best for these. The ordinances will have to be updated to make sure they're going to be good places for it. But I would like to remind the commissioners that I think in the December meeting, Lindsay Mader submitted a petition that had been signed by over 500 people, primarily from agricultural lands in this county. But I know there are signatures on there from all 5 of the commission districts, so everybody in the county had a chance to sign this. And they wanted relief from these things. And these are the landowners in ag lands that people are worried about their rights. Well, there they were. And the people from the small towns that rely on those ranches and support those ranchers. So people are going to get stepped on, but I think those 500 signatures say that there is very strong support amongst the landowners on agricultural lands to put these someplace where they belong. And I will support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. I have another, Jerry Mader. Are you available, Jerry?
Good morning, Commissioners and Chairman. Thank you for letting us come up and speak. And I just wanted to mostly talk about the time that has been spent on this subject. We've been at it for almost 2 years, and I know everybody, agree or disagree, has put a lot of time and thought into this topic. So I just want to express my appreciation, and I guess I think we've been at this close to 2 years, talking about it and going back and forth, trying to work something out. And I guess I've been around long enough to know that if we move into something too hastily without a lot of research, there could certainly be some regret down the road. So I'm glad that we're maybe taking a step back or holding these in industrial areas. So I do appreciate that. We're finding out more and more how inefficient some of these solar and wind plants are, and I think over time they'll be proven to be not a very good way to go. So I appreciate everybody's effort. So, and I'm happy we're taking these steps to save our agricultural land, and I guess that's all I have. So thank you
Mr.
very
Mayor.
much.
So we have discussion from the commission.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek, sir.
You know, I can understand the ag people not wanting these in their neighborhood. And, you know, we talk about equity. When we talked about the animal ordinance, there's a statement in there, the recommended update is intended to strike a reasonable balance. There's no reasonable balance with this idea. This basically kills this type of green energy in Pennington County. My research shows 1,500 acres of heavy industrial in Pennington County, and roughly 1,320 of those acres are almost border the Rapid City limits, which these locations are gravel pits and gravel quarries and heavy industrial, and I don't think they're conducive to a solar farm. When you sit there and look at solar farms, they're predominantly in ag areas. The equity part, I've talked about this before, the scales of fairness. Well, if we sit there and approve this change, there is the scales of fairness are not in balance. If you sit there and look at our Director of Equalization, when we do your assessed values on your farms, we do it based on equity. We try to be fair to the county, and we try to be fair to the taxpayer. With this particular change in the comprehensive plan, those scales are way off balance. We're not looking at the property rights of the people that might want to have that on their property. If you want to sit there and put some teeth into it, this isn't the route to go. To me, what the route to go was sit there and do the ordinance and make the ordinance strict enough that they wouldn't want to come. This basically nails the coffin shut, in my opinion. So obviously, I won't be supporting it.
Thank you, Mr. Roskinek. Commissioner Drews, did you have?
I think this ordinance is too severe. The limitation of industrial is just beyond what I think I can comprehend for it. As we saw just recently, the largest wind tower in South Dakota has just been permitted in Hawken County, probably within about 3 miles of the Pennington County line. And so there are agriculture areas where they like to have wind and solar. And I think we know that we have some in Pennington County that would choose to do that too. So I'm not going to be supportive of this ordinance either.
Mr. Chair, just to follow up.
Commissioner Roskinek, sir.
You know, and there is a possibility that these folks can just go to the PUC and get the permit. And if that happens, be careful what you wish for, because if they do that, they're going to follow the rules set by the state, and the county won't have any jurisdiction in that matter at all.
Thank you. Commissioner Hadcock.
Actually, if you read the state law, it says that they usually go with the rules and regulations that the county have set forward through the PUC. And I had read that last time, so that's not a factual statement. Commissioner Roskinek, unfortunately. Why this is brought forward and why this is important to Pennington County is health, safety, and welfare. A lot of what we did have a committee that did discuss some of this stuff, but I think the main issue that I think didn't happen was they didn't talk about battery storage, which has lithium batteries, which lithium in the battery storage, which has thermal runaway, which we cannot put out through volunteer departments or otherwise. That's a safety factor. There's also the waterways that the panels have that cadmium and some chemical that leaches through the ground, and that's huge for the ag community. There is the decommissioning of these products that they're using, and someone just told me, well, 80% is produced in China. Most of this thermal, or these blades and the panels. I said, so how much does China have of green energy in their country? None. So that kind of tells you a little bit about health, safety, and welfare, and if it's so beneficial, it doesn't produce about 3% of green energy throughout the United States. So we're going to take out the ag community, we're going to take out the ag land for industrial. People are not calling it industrial, but what do you call something that has chemicals and pollutants that might damage the land and also is underneath already? If you look under our industrial use, it does have big utility companies. So for me, this was a no-brainer. Put it in industrial, put it where it's supposed to be, protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. Then I also read, somebody put this on there, Center of Rural Affairs up here, the tax revenue generated by wind and solar systems can have significant benefits for rural communities. We did have a presentation on local effort, and if you remember the local effort, it does not benefit. What it does is it is a wash. So any money that is generated through green energy through the state is taken back out of the schools, right? And then when you take it out of the schools, that money is returned to the state. Like if you put 2 million, let's say we had 2 million worth of green energy, it's taken out of the school system's budget, and the 2 million is returned to the state. So that benefits who? The state.
Not the people.
Sorry. Anyway, so for me, property rights are on both sides. If that contamination in that area, and we cannot safely put out fires, if we can safely not protect our waterways, it's not just for ag, it's for everybody. So for me, health, safety, and welfare, it shows it through the comprehensive plan. That's why it's going through the comprehensive plan. It already is in. We don't have to change land use to industrial. It's already in land use underneath land use already. Again, for me, our ag land and property rights are very important for me as well. But I also say, when you affect other people's land that are next to you, it's a huge taking of what you're doing to other people's land as well. And it's been proven. It's not that Deb Hadcock said it. You can look it up. Between the blades and everything else with the chemicals and things that are used for these, it's not a big safety factor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, one more follow-up.
Sir.
You know, every car that we drive, every tractor out there, they pollute. They got oil. They got all kinds of chemical. So when we talk about safety hazards, it's out there. There's a risk associated with everything. I guess the point that I'm making is that I don't think when you sit there and look at a solar field, you're not seeing the effects that you would see in heavy industrial. When I think of heavy industrial, I think of smoke, I think of emissions, I think of noise, I think of heavy truck traffic, excessive light. You know, I'm not saying that I'd want one of these in my neighborhood, but let's be fair to both sides, and I don't think this is being fair to both sides. And when we talk about you know, the state getting involved in doing permits, like Gary said, the front page of this news report said South Dakota regulators approved wind farm that would be the largest in the state. It wasn't the county that approved it, it was the state. So, you know, just be careful what you wish for.
Perfect. Commissioner Durr, you have the floor, sir.
All right. So I will say Deb Hadcock said it. So she covered the majority of what the concerns are that have been brought up. The issue, getting back to it, and I'm not sure of the situation in Hawken County, but I want to go, when we talk about, and I've heard both sides. I mean, I chaired the committee that we had. Jerry Mader is correct. This has been a, 2-year discussion, and it started with, after the solar plant at New Underwood, and then another one coming in east of where I live, bordering, Jerry's property, and then talking about that process. And the first question that I brought up a couple of years ago was the fact that I do not believe a conditional use permit should be eligible under agricultural zoning. And so I think there's still probably about 4 to 5 counties, and I'm not sure if Hawken is one of them, Commissioner Roskinick. But let's take our neighboring county. Meade County does not have zoning. So they don't have zoning, and so it's kind of a free-for-all when these things come in, and you can have an ordinance that regulates it, but you don't have zoning that says in what area in the county it can go in. So Pennington County has zoning, and why do we have zoning? Zoning is to protect, getting back to what you've said, Chair, getting back to protect the property owners in that district. And so when you have zoning and you have industrial, you have residential, whatever, the various classifications of zoning we have, and we get down to agricultural. And so what we're doing by zoning, and the reason that we have zoning, is to protect the land use and say that this is a properly sited commercial property, residential, whatever the case may be. But when you talk about ag, and you go back and you look at what ag is, it's exactly what we have in eastern Pennington County. And so if we get down to it, the only district that these solar and wind plants would go into would be my district in eastern Pennington County. And Eileen Peterson is 100% correct. I've attended multiple community meetings. We had months of meeting on an ordinance rewrite, and the resounding sounding board that came back is that we do not want these facilities in an agricultural district. Yes, we have 1 or 2 or 3 property owners in that area that would like to get into an agreement to have wind and solar on their property. And those are one reasons, the board implemented a moratorium, so we had a chance to educate and look at this and slow the process down. And going back to what, Mr. Mader said, we've talked about this, and it's been publicly debated, many community meetings, and the resounding, it's more than a 99-1 coming back that we do not want these facilities sited in an agricultural district. Hence, we have this in front of us today. And so I think it goes back to the fact that we already have zoning, and that the zoning is there to protect the majority of the property owners in that area, in that zoning district, and protect them and give them some understanding as what proper use and of the property is and how it's developed. And this goes back to really properly planned growth. Pennington County is seeing a lot of growth. What do we have zoning for? Is to have planned growth in the county, and saying that we are citing in our comprehensive plan is the guiding doctrine for that we are making amendments and changes to the comprehensive plan that meet the actual land use in this area. So obviously it's been talked about ad nauseum quite a while, and that's why I'm supporting this. I don't see this, and I know it's been discussed that this is a taking, it's a property rights situation. I appreciate the ability, for individual property rights, but you have to look at that, and if you have, in this case, you couldn't even put a percent to it of the people that want to use property for wind and solar, and then talk about everybody else in this zoning district that say, we're in an agricultural zoning district, we don't want it. And so you have to look at the whole and how this is being implemented. Secondly, we do have a solar plant, up by New Underwood. And that is kind of the reason that we're having this discussion, because that one slipped into the county during the COVID deal. So there wasn't a lot of public hearings on it. But you talk about how that plant up there, forget about the revenue coming in, whatever that is, in my mind, I mean, this is my community. It's crippled New Underwood's growth for development. And what do we need in my community? We need people moving in New Underwood area. We need people to support the school. We need that residential support. And now we have New Underwood, surrounded by a solar plant that is limiting potential growth that would be more consistent with what the area is around New Underwood for residential, not industrial use. And so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the change of COCA 260001.
I have a motion from Durr and a second by Hadcock. And I'm going to weigh in here because I'd attended a lot of these meetings, and the one thing that brought me to mind, the conclusion when we vote, you'll see that, but it obviously a health, safety, welfare issue, but also the comprehensive plan, because like I mentioned earlier, the comprehensive plan is so important when people move into a country or a state or any, like a community like Pennington County. Hawken County is not Pennington County. They're two different worlds. Meade County is not Pennington County. I don't live in either one of those areas for a specific reason. I don't want to be there, and because of their comprehensive plans. So our comprehensive plan, if you read it, is everything this commission is tasked with doing is to adhere to a comprehensive plan and adhere to the community and what they see the mission of this community to be. And if you read it, and it's available on our website, our big, beautiful website, which will be launching, I think, at the end of the month here. So if people get on that website and you see things you want to add, it's going to be awesome. And but we do have our plan there. So when people come to our community, whether it's to move here or do business here, they understand what they're up against. And you're up against a strong, strong agricultural community. We're changing some of them, making more reflection to identify that, so people are more comfortable when they move here in these rural areas in Rapid Valley and types of places like this where they may have 3 to 5 acres and they want cows and horses, and they take care of them. They do the right things, because we just had the stock show here, which is a huge turnout, and it's big. Those people that come here pay for a lot of the community, what this community has to offer when it comes to parks, police, fire, all that type of stuff, by spending their sales tax money here. But they come here for the agricultural perspective of it. It's one of the biggest in the country right now. And one of the things that Ron Jeffries told me was that they have a 4-H program at this stock show, and he said it's busting at the seams. They're using half of the old arena just for the 4-H. That is the future, gentlemen and ladies. That is the future of our community here, and simply because we have planned to make it agriculture, bringing in an opportunity to that could change the health, safety, and welfare of a community. I understand there's a lot of risk you take, but I tell people for years, I used to smoke cigarettes, and I quit. And they said, well, you're going to die anyway. I said, I get that, all right. I am going to die anyway. But I look at life of having like a revolver, and everybody's born with so many bullets in that gun. So when you add things to this gun, when you add another bullet to that gun, that's one more chance of you having something happen. And I just can't take the risk of what this solar poses for the benefit it brings. And the people in the community have spoken. They've spoken loudly. That's the ones I represent. So we have a motion on the floor.
Mr. Chair, Brittany,
if you want to answer Mr. Durr's questions.
Do we have to have a second reading on this?
I do not believe so, no.
So it's just...
Here comes Tyler.
Yes.
Boy, that pay raise helps a lot.
The reason on the other one is because the Planning Commission never saw that rewrite.
All right.
So.
Yeah, Tyler Sobczak, State's Attorney's Office. So this is effective by resolution, which means it's effective, I forget the terminology.
20 days
after publication. Yep, so that's how this will work. So I don't know when we have the ordinance up next, but we need to be a little bit cognizant of this being effective after publication before anything moves forward with the ordinance, if that makes sense to the commission.
Right.
It's got to make the most sense to Brittany. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so if we pass this after this vote, then when will you publish this?
Well, it gets published in the minutes of the Board of Commissioners. It's usually 2 Wednesdays from, and then it's 20 days from the 2 Wednesdays.
Okay, so 2 Wednesdays got to pass, which is tomorrow, and then next Wednesday, and then 20 days from next Wednesday.
Yes.
I should apply for a job at the state's attorney's office, huh?
It's a good
Knowing
place
this
to
stuff
work.
pretty well. Anyway, so we got a motion on the floor. Any other comments?
I guess my last comment would be,
Commissioner Ross Connect, sure. Yep.
administrations come and they go, and there could be an administration here sitting where we are 8 years from now, and they could totally reverse it, so it isn't perpetual.
Yeah, nothing that we do really is perpetual. I can tell you one thing, this commission has been dedicated to trying to eliminate a lot of that stuff from happening by putting in good policy. And I think it was brought up earlier about our policies. We're working on a lot of this stuff, and we hope that we have them in policy and that everybody can have that opportunity to view them on our big, beautiful website. And we're gonna be able to have, permits and everything on that. And we'll be able to have our live view on our meetings.
Sure.
And so we're hoping that what we can do is eliminate some of that. And if the PUC wants to come calling after doing a 26%, they've got their arms full with just trying to run the Black Hills Energy and West River Energy, whatever ones they opt. They have 26% increases coming to the taxpayers. I mean, good luck to them. So that being said, anybody in there? Commissioner Hadcock.
Number one, I appreciate everybody that made this happen, and it was mostly Eastern Pennington County. They took signatures from city and county folks, about 500. That wasn't just Eastern Pennington County. That was people from all over, and that takes a lot of work. And I appreciate also that Jerry's protecting Eastern Pennington County and brought this forward as well, because when we go into other people's districts and they don't like mining and leaching and everything, the waterways, it's the same effect in Eastern Pennington County. But we're ready to shut down mining and say how it's not, it's industrial and all the different things that it affects, but we're not willing to come into Eastern Pennington County because it's not mining. It's the same effect. It has chemicals, it has big blades that have flicker, that have light, that affect people. It has many different areas, 3,000, 3,500 panels that might be leaching into the waterways. That's not industrial. Bottom line is, people in our districts, not only in Eastern Pennington County, were the same way for what we're talking about, health, safety, and welfare. This didn't come easy. This came over about 2 years, and I've been dealing with this for a long time, and I've been also working with some of the different areas just to see maybe I'm wrong. So the bottom line is, the more I thought I was wrong, the more I found that the constituents were right. So I was kind of on the fence when we first started this, and then also what made my mind up was when we start affecting different areas in Pennington County. I'll keep saying, we have Western is different than Eastern. There needs to be housing, and we keep hearing, and Jerry's right, that the housing needs to go east. They're not talking about all our other districts for a lot of housing. They're talking east. And if that's going to be affecting the eastern part of Pennington County, I would hope that anybody elected in the future or on this panel would take in consideration and be respectful of that same issue, because we're not the only ones saying that. We're talking Elevate and a bunch of different people in Rapid City that are saying it's going east. So we also are respecting that comprehensive plan, that 2040 plan, about not only what Pennington County wants, but what Rapid City and the surrounding areas like Box Elder want. So thank you.
Thank you. And that's it. I just want to make one comment that it's still, they can zone this industrial and put their, I mean, right?
Yes.
Tyler, yep. So we're not shutting anything down. If it's someone in the future decides to zone in this area, then that'll come through the commission just like everything else. But I did drive by right behind Rushmore Crossing. They got a really nice, really well done solar plant, or whatever you want to call it. So it's very nice, looks nice. It's in a proper location. Commissioner Durr.
Yeah, just a comment. I took a trip, left Thursday, got back Saturday. I went to Lexington, Kentucky, round trip to pick up a mare. So I was driving, through the night, and I saw these red lights along the horizon and out in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, well, I didn't know they had that big of an airport out here. And then I kept seeing these, and then, it dawned on me, no, that's not a landing strip. Those are the lights off the wind towers. And so anyway, it's just And all of it has an impact in our community. And so.
So I'm going to rein it in here. I think we're just redundant now. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2. So we'll move on to the next item.
So item H is public hearing of comprehensive plan amendment, COCA 26-0002, to amend the existing comprehensive plan view to 2040, section 11, the implementation element for Pennington County. So this is just a different section that addresses the wind and solar alternative energy, indicating that it'll be focused on the industrial areas. And the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the comprehensive plan amendment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 3-2.
Mr. Chair, just
Yes.
one last follow-up. There was a task force put together, and we had all the stakeholders involved, and if I recall, they came to an ordinance that everybody agreed with. What happened to that?
Mr.
I
Chair.
don't think,
That was actually
Brittany?
continued until the comprehensive plan amendments can change, because our ordinances are based upon the comprehensive plan. So now the ordinance will have to reflect the comprehensive plan amendment changes.
so it's not dead. It's still there. We still have to either make changes or not.
And Mr. Chair,
Commissioner-
yeah, we pumped the brakes on that to change the comprehensive plan so that can be reflected, because the ordinance is going to change. And to get back to it, there was not consensus across the group that came forward with the ordinance, because we had a lot of public testimony about additional setback requirements and all of those. And again, then we had input, which I think there needs to be some changes on that. We had input coming from individuals in residential areas talking about, just residential use that's in that ordinance as well, that I think that we might be, limiting their ability to use solar on their property residentially. So there's still work to be done on that, but this was this step, and then we'll go back and revisit that ordinance.
And I can tell you that the residential development that was using solar quit using it. They don't put it on their houses anymore. Am I correct, Brittany?
Oh, the Apple Valley?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, they don't use it anymore because it's not efficient. So, what?
Chair, and Jerry's right, there was like a half and half on that ordinance, and it also, it needs to put the battery storage in there too, if they put an ordinance in
So
there. 'cause
bottom
that was
line is
missed.
that's going to come back. I don't want to go off on a tangent. We're answering
Tangent.
Mr. Roskinick's question.
Just make sure
But
we
that's
have-
going to come back, and it's going to have to fit into industrial zoning now, so that'll be part of the ordinance, and, right? Is that
Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve. Is that right? Or did we not have a motion? Oh, we voted, so, yeah, we voted, all right. So, okay, we move on to the next item.
So item number I is ordinance 106, public nuisance for Harold McBride. So with the new process with our nuisance ordinances, our nuisance officer or ordinance enforcement officer is here, and he'll give a presentation on these. There's a couple ordinance changes. In addition to, our office only has abatement authority up to $1,000. So any of these nuisance complaints, once they get to this point, are above that $1,000 authority. So the Board of Commissioners would have to make any kind of abatement requirements
So if
above that.
we haven't done any action on this one yet, or we have?
There has been some action, but nothing through the legal and nothing through abatement.
Will this play into what Commissioner Roskinek has said earlier about the enforcement of these things?
Correct.
It does.
Correct. So this board has a couple of options. They could make the decision to abate it, they could make the decision to give the property owner more time, or they could make the decision to refer it to the state's attorney's office
then-
for legal action.
Our code enforcement guy will go through all the steps that have taken place so far, and I think it goes back to Commissioner Roskinek's concern, and I think we all have the same concern about if we're going to do this, and we need to do it, and we need to be consistent about it, so let's go forward. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr., you have the floor.
One moment. Hold on. Tech issues.
Just don't bring Kenner out here, he'll put you on the wrong page.
I just need to bring up the slides. Okay, what you should. Is that, I don't know which one that is. Don't clack that.
Thanks for all your patience, guys. We've done well overall, and just get a little bit of a computer glitch today.
Up on the screen.
Must be all those space heaters running in the auditor's office.
So if you needed to go to the screen, you can go that, and then you can use
Now okay, we'll let you go forward here. You have the floor. And is Harriet here today, or she's fully aware, or he's fully aware of the hearing, correct?
Right. Good morning, Commission. Dwayne Allen from Planning and Zoning Ordinance Enforcement. Bringing to you today the first two cases of Ordinance Violation 106, first one being COV 022-0003 with property owner Harold McBride. And I'm not sure if he's got a representative in the audience or not, because no one has contacted me to let me know they would be here or not be here.
Okay. But they usually get a letter or something that says this is happening.
They did get letters, certified letters, and both of them came back saying
Okay,
that
so
they
they're
were
not here, so they're
received,
not here.
and
Okay, so will you go ahead and go forward and
I know
tell us
Commissioner
what
Durr
you
was
need
in
from us?
contact with him, I believe, a little bit, but, so, just on the screen here, I have some of the information on the property itself, being 1 acre out in Green Valley. Ordinance violations are listed on the screen. This is an overview of the property. This was taken, oh, sorry, I'll be a little louder. So this is an overview of the property as on our staff rapid maps. This was when the violation was opened in 22 from the property, from the road, and this
Can you
was the most
explain the
current
violations to
as
us?
2025.
Okay.
Sure.
If you give us a number, we don't really know. Okay.
Original violations was vegetation, that a lot of the debris out there provides shelter for rats, mice, snakes, that type of thing. More than 5 inoperable vehicles, which is very easy to see on the screen. Abandonment of real and personal property, meaning anything that's left out in the elements that will no longer hold value, maybe old washer machines, refrigerators, just junk car parts, that kind of thing. And then the dangerous accumulation of combustible materials, being anything of wood, old batteries, just that type of debris, yard debris kind of thing.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek, sir.
Not only does this pose an eyesore, but to me, based on testimony we just heard, that there's an element of safety out there too with the rodents and the chemicals that we just got to discussing that. So I think it's time to start looking at these a little bit harder and making sure that they're enforced and given that there's consequences if you don't follow the rules.
I agree. So can you tell us what's transpired so far, so how you've gotten to this point?
Over the years, I've been speaking with Mr. McBride. I've gone out numerous times, visited with him, talked with him. At some points, the property would get better, and the way things used to work with my position is if progress was being made, that was what we were going for. Mm-hmm. Then things just start getting worse sometimes before they get better. This is one of those cases where things just continue to deteriorate over time. Vehicles started being added to not just the backyard, but the front yard, the side yard, trailers of debris sitting in the front yard, which you can see in the pictures that I have up on the board right now.
So the McBrides clearly know what they have to do to clean this property up?
Yes, sir.
It's lined out for them?
I spoke with them numerous times, telling them what needed to happen. And at this point,
because this is over $1,000 abatement, you need the commission to
that is correct,
give you an approval. Do you have an estimate of what this is going to cost?
I do not. I have not had someone on the property yet to do that.
Okay.
Looking for the board to give me some direction on how they would like to progress with this, if it's going to go to the state's attorneys or if it's something that we're going to look at abating.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner.
Dwayne, could you go to the aerial? Could you explain the adjacent properties?
Right, that was another question I was going to be asking and addressing with the board, is we do have surrounding properties that are almost as bad shape as this one. However, I'm been a complaint basis only position, being that a lot of times I do get just complaints on one property and nothing around that property. Some of those can be just neighbors not liking neighbors for a certain reason. Sometimes I've come to find out. Don't know if that's the case in this one, but that is, I got this one as a complaint basis and no other properties around it was complained on.
Does this come down to the quantitative problem here?
Well, I did speak to Mr. McBride a couple of times. He reached out to me, and we had 2 phone conversations related to this. And, he kind of told me a story that I believe they have a repo business. And so some of these vehicles are based on repossessions that are sitting there. And, he went into other things as to maybe why the property is what it is. I'm not going to get into, because I think some of what he told me is personal. I'm not going to talk about that publicly. But the point that he made to me was, he said, if you look to the left of my property and the right of my property, the gentleman, and it might be the individual to the right, there is an individual, and this is in Green Valley Estates.
That's correct, sir.
Yeah. So he's doing a repo business out of here, which would require a conditional use permit?
That is correct.
Okay. So it's not just, the junk, it's that. And then he points to this property, I believe, to the right of the screen, that the gentleman's got a used car business. And so the gentleman is trading and selling used cars and treating it like a business over there. And does that individual have a conditional use permit?
No, sir, I've not received a complaint on that or was made aware of that.
No, I understand that. So this is a conversation we have, but when you go in to enforce these based on complaint, and then the individual that we're doing the abatement on and we're trying to bring in compliance is saying, getting back to, a comment that was made earlier today, am I being singled out? And so some of the individuals on this complaint basis, and it's just, a philosophy that we have and how we're doing this, but then they feel, okay, why are you singling me out? And then when I get these calls like a Mr. McBride, then in essence, what he's telling me is, I'm complaining about my adjoining neighbor. Are you going to make him clean up, that individual clean up their property at the same time? Or are you going to start a complaint on them? So that's his response to me as we look at doing these. And getting back to, and I did go in and talk to Brittany and Jason specifically about this one and Dwayne, and saying as we move forward, what is our concept? And so if you go in and you say, yeah, I can look at the map here, and you pull it up and we have a complaint on this individual, but we have a community issue. And so do we want to go in and look at community enforcement and say that we need to clean this up as a community instead of, going after a complaint based on one individual? And so if you look around, and you're not going to find this in every one, I'm sure you have complaints out there where it's, you could have a neighborhood community and it's just the one property, not everybody surrounding the property. So we have some of these anomalies. But the difficulty I would have going against, even though it's not complaint-based, against one individual is we're cleaning up that property, but we haven't resolved the issue. Because, for example, in this area of Green Valley Estates, we have adjoining properties on either side. And so you can look at the property lines, and based on our current ordinance, I could see 2 properties to the left. That individual is in non-compliance with our ordinance. And we did change the ordinance to our nuisance ordinance. We just recently changed a few months ago. And then we asked your office and you to bring these forward so we could help you out. So here we are. But that's kind of my input, that as we go to, and I do believe these need to be abated.
Yep.
But I think that we need to look at, I can't ignore what I'm seeing on the map right now.
Right. But I would have a tendency to agree with that. Commissioner Hadcock.
Just a question, how long has that home business been there?
That I am not aware of.
Well, I'm saying that
I know
is, was
he's
the
brought
business.
it up recently that
Sorry, Dwayne. So if the business was there since 1970, do you see where I'm going? And then people moved around it, or does that make sense? And do you have the authority at that point to say they need a conditional use? Because we didn't come into the rules and regs till 94. So are they grandfathered in if that business has been there since then? Or it doesn't mean they don't have to clean it up. It just means how long has that been allowed to be where it's at and do what it's been doing before we say it needs a conditional use and some other things for this business?
Yep. Under that, I do not know how long it's been.
Yeah, I think that's out of his wheelhouse.
Well, why I say that is because those rules and regs are grandfathered in.
Right, I get that.
from
But
before,
we're
but-
talking about abating the property, but we can ask Tyler about that on another note.
But we're talking about conditional use permit and that he doesn't have one. And if
Right.
he
But
doesn't
that-
need one if he's been there.
That's
been
not
there
what
before.
that's not what you're saying, is it, Dwayne? You're talking
No,
about the nuisance of the property.
Right, I'm just talking about the nuisance of the debris and the
So,
vehicles.
Tyler, can you come forward if you have a second, please, sir? What we're looking.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
It could tie into what Commissioner Hadcock is addressing, because let's just say that these vehicles that are currently in violation of our ordinance for how many abandoned vehicles or whatever unlicensed vehicles can be on a property, and then, okay, are they exempt because he had a business on his property to have this that predates what Commissioner Hadcock is addressing? So those are all the conversations that I think we should be asking as we look at these.
Tyler, we're asking you.
Yeah, Tyler Sobczak, State's Attorney's Office. That's a really good question. I mean, when I was having discussions with Brittany about this property beforehand, I was unaware of the CUP component of this. I guess I'd want to look at that permit, look at the dates, compare and contrast it to our old zoning ordinance, because there's a lot of things. I'm just a little weary of giving you some gunshot advice without having some time to look at it.
Understood, understood. So we have a. Well, because he doesn't.
Let me
we got
rephrase.
armor piercing. We got armor up here. So, but
yeah. So I guess
I guess the question I'm asking is, we need to abate this property. It's got other problems than the vehicles. I think that overall policy, when we changed the animal one, that made sense. Maybe the vehicle one needs to be made sense where we actually. Because this one, obviously, I get what you're saying. These other places have vehicles, but they're all orderly. They may be licensed, they may not be licensed, but this person's got everything. Every kind of violation you can have, they have it. So, but overall community perspective is correct. I think when Dwayne goes in there and he sees a violation next door, then I think they should have the same circumstance as this person does, so.
And just a side note, Brittany just showed us on the another aerial map. I can't get the computer to go to that right now. But in 97, that property had no vehicles on it.
Well, there you go. So we can handle this abatement. And so what do you need from us, Brittany and Dwayne? Tyler, you can stay there if you don't mind standing for a little bit. Sorry. Just help us through this.
Sure. A couple of things. One is instead of going to a complaint basis only on situations like this, if there's surrounding properties, doing it more as a community-wide and taking that direction from the board. So staff has a clear direction and support from the board and that kind of enforcement. And two, in these situations, do you want us to go out for bid, bring in bids to the board to find out what we're looking at? In most cases, some of these, they're probably upwards of $20,000 for abatement. If there's other mechanisms that you want us to look at for abatement, other departments, other things to look at, just some direction on how you want us to handle these moving forward. If you want to take the abatement process, if you want us to go through the state's attorney's office, and then the direction on how you want us to handle the surrounding neighborhood versus a one-off, just
So
for a
I know
complaint.
that Commissioner Hadcock and Commissioner Rosknecht both have made it very evident to me that they want to get these cleaned up.
Did?
Yeah, on the phone call. I had to put the phone way out here to listen, so.
Process.
I guess that was it, the process and understanding that if we do this, we need to make a commitment to it, and Commissioner Rosknecht said that earlier. If we do this, we better commit to it, because this is not going to be free. It's going to cost money to abate these properties, but the same issue like Commissioner Rosknecht talked about earlier, we are making it uncomfortable for these people around these people, because we're not being proactive enough on abating them and bringing them into compliance. Commissioner Hadcock.
So I agree with cleaning up properties. I mean, yeah. They had to try it in the city as well and following that process because they have one. But here's the other issue. Money-wise, we do have money in contingency, I hear. Number two, how's that process work so the constituents or the people have an understanding of what's coming? that should be relayed to them, basically saying, if you don't clean up your property, you're gonna be abated, and if you can't pay it, you're gonna have a lien on you.
So if we've done some of that already.
But did the people that are coming here today, do they have a full understanding of that? And then how many liens can you take in when people don't pay before you decide that the process is doing what for the future? So I'm not against this at all, just those questions need to be answered, and how much are you gonna put in contingency every year, because then you'll start knowing basically how many are paid and how many you need to do. You do 10 properties, you got 200,000 right there. So I'm good for, and I don't know how you be proactive, reactive, all that stuff to make sure that people understand that we want, and your neighbors want, their properties next to you to be able to have peaceful enjoyment, basically, from all your stuff being around in a certain area, and what that looks like and what the hazards can be from your property. So there's got to be some education in there as well with these property owners that you're coming to tell them that you're going to abate them or lien them if they can't pay.
I think we got ordinances in place, and these guys have made the letters, sent the letters. The problem is kind of reminds me of Trump talking to Iran about nuclear talks, and then after he bombs them, and they say, we want to talk now. Well, it's too late. So they're not here today. These people are not here. I've asked several times. I don't know. We're talking about McBride's right now, and that's what's on the agenda. That's the agenda item. That's what they're not here. And if we don't take, I think Commissioner Rosknecht made it very, very clear. If we don't take action, this is just going to keep happening. So that being said, let's come to a conclusion for this item.
So,
Right, Chair, if I may make one more comment too. In the past too, when I've had some cases go before court, I know we have one currently that the judge had given them up to a year to get things cleaned up before action had to be taken against that actual individual legally. I monitor that situation, so that's always another option that we may have besides just straight abatement at the beginning of giving them, the board gives you 6 months to do something, then abatement could happen or something to that effect too. So we have a couple different options that we can run through.
How long have you been dealing with these people?
This one's been since 22.
Since 22, and this is 26?
yeah. So, Chair, this goes back to, when we looked at how long, and again, you have to think about it. So if you go through the history and you go through, we have a certain number of, let's just say hardcore nuisances out there, and that we're asking Dwayne to manage them and the staff to manage them year after year after year after year. There's got to be resolution, because we're looking at all the time that is spent in our department with our staff just dealing with this stuff. So in my conversations with Mr. McBride, he was quite clear that, Dwayne was clear to him as to what this process was and what was going to happen. And I was hoping, he would be here today. So two things. I think, getting back to what Brittany asked, I think there should be a consensus when you see something, you can't unsee it. And so that we deal with these other locations as well, and we address those while we're dealing with this property. And so if you go out there and you see it, it's just like my days in law enforcement. I couldn't go out on one call and answer a complaint, and then I'm looking next door and I'm seeing somebody else doing the same thing. No, I only got called to this location. No, I'm going to deal with everything in my purview. And so the other one, and I mentioned it before, and I don't believe Joe is here from Highway. Okay, so I have, in previous working on abatements, I have used internal assets in the county to do this, and I mentioned it to Joe. I mean, there's some of these properties, we have the equipment at the highway department and or resources to go out and use a front end loader and clean stuff up, dump it, and haul it to the dump. So I don't think that I think we should be looking at, do we have internal assets that we can use within the organization, manpower and equipment to help on some of these things? And then go back to, so let's just take an example. If we're saying that we have to go ahead and clean out, let's just say 20 vehicles. Okay, in my mind, that would be getting a hold of a tow company and saying, come out, we need you to haul off 20 vehicles. I'm not going to pay you, because the tow company is going to hold that vehicle and impound it until they get payment and they get it from the property owner, not like we're going to write the bill. And so the tow companies go out and remove this stuff at their expense. They hold it, and if they don't get payment, they just go ahead and sell it and deal with it. And so there's a process for them to follow through. So we have some options, not all of which require us to spend 10 to 20 grand per property. So,
Right. And to make a little more comment on that, I have contacted a couple of the places in town, junkyards, that kind of thing, and some of them won't take 20 cars right away because they're full and they don't have the room to put them and that kind of thing. But the process for them is, you're correct, they will take them, they run a VIN on it, they apply for the title for that vehicle, and if the owner does not pay for it or get it back within 30 days, then they do sell it or part it out or crush it for their own.
So do we need just a consensus for you, Brittany, to say this is the procedure you'd like you to, you obviously got a procedure in handled, like right now, if we want to go forward to abate this property, but then like now we need to talk to these other people in this community. So and there's some frequent flyers. I know there's a handful of frequent flyers that we should handle those right away. I mean, we're all getting the same calls from the people that are in those areas, Twilight Drive, Green Valley here. So, and then just take a community point where you can't unsee what you've seen, and then the commission needs to understand when they come back and they've got a $10,000 abatement bill that if you don't want to do this, tell me now, because otherwise we're going to do this.
Sure.
Commissioner Hancock.
More question. Remember, Tyler, we had that 1 mile jurisdiction thing going on? Is this going to affect any of that?
Tyler Sobczak, State's Attorney's Office. I talked with representatives from the city. You know, they agreed with my analysis that we essentially had concurrent jurisdiction where we both could prosecute that, and that they essentially are not actively pursuing things within those 1 mile, so this shouldn't frustrate our efforts to do anything for, I don't know exactly where this is, but if it is in the 1 mile, I'm not concerned about it.
Well, I'm saying that to be on the record. That way we don't have any back and forth when we have issues in their district. Or their
I've
1
done
mile.
the same too. I've talked to them the same. And so I think we give these guys some direction. I think that Jerry started saying, can't unsee what you've seen, Dwayne. Start the process on abating this property, whatever it takes. We're trying to save this guy money, and he can have that conversation with him, as you know, when our reflection of our timelines fit into that, and tell him this is what the time to talk is now, not after we start hauling your stuff away, because then you're going to owe for that stuff. Unless you want to do it yourself, we'll give you a specific amount of time that you need to get it done, but that's a drop dead date. And then we're going to not unsee these properties around them, and we will approach those as we go.
So,
and, you know, so.
And then a question, Mr. Chair, Tyler. What's the preference of your office? Would you rather see these be handled as a nuisance through, you put up the little flow chart, we can go left, we can go right? Is your preference that we can handle some of these and abate them? And my belief anyway on these complaints, once it goes in front of the court, we don't have any control and the timeline gets protracted.
Yeah, that really is a tough question. I mean, I think it's really going to have to be a case-by-case basis on these. I don't think there's going to be one size fits all. One property could be, let's call it a little bit over $1,000, but not that severe in the grand scheme of things, and maybe that's something you more want to toss our way, whereas we have more severe cases that you may want to abate just to get the nuisance under control. Right. So it's a little tough to answer that question.
Chair?
Yes, Commissioner.
I'm going to make a motion on this property that our planning department, Dwayne, give him 60 days to show considerable action, and if none is taken within 60 days, that we will start the abatement process.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we're going to give you, and then we'll get with Tyler on this plan. But I think, Brittany, you've got the marching orders to be more proactive, I think. And when one of these people's moms are not abiding by the rules, and they're still going to have to make her abide too. So, Dwayne, you got our, and you guys speak now if I'm speaking out of turn, but you got our consensus that we need you to go forward and clean these areas up, because it's just it's better for the people living in his areas that they don't get treated differently if their property's a nuisance.
Can I ask a little question about how at least you envision that process in your minds, at least?
I'm hoping that you're going to vision it for us.
So, just because we'll have to kind of touch on our zoning's internal processes, is kind of what you're more thinking is when we have a complaint basis, call that complaint 1 coming, and you notice complaint 2, you loop that in together? Or are you more envisioning that if right across the board, if you see something, get it in the office and go from there? I just want to be clear on the board's direction.
Right. If you go to a complaint and then you see in that community, while you're in that area, if you see another issue, you can, Dwayne's got enough wisdom and knowledge behind him that he can tell you that that's going to be a problem, and that's a problem for the neighbors, so.
Okay, so sort of a complaint basis, call it complaint.
If you get a complaint basis, and then again, in this one, you pull up the map, you can't ignore it.
Yep.
And so
we have another one on
I just
here?
wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Yeah, I think he's on this next one if I'm, yeah. So we're gonna talk about his next, because we don't want to talk about them together because they're two separate entities. Sir, if you want to come forward. So this is Jay. Ordinance 106, public nuisance, Joan Kircheville. Is that you?
No, my name is Nick Kirkable. I'm stepping in for my mother. She's not feeling very well
So
today.
we're going to explain to you what's going on, or maybe you already know.
I do. I've spoke with Dwayne off and on the last 4 or 5 years,
Probably.
give or take, and I've made an attempt to clear out some. A lot of this mess in this yard is my own. Unfortunately, the cars, there's a couple cars in there now that are mine. I was unable on my previous places to live to keep. I couldn't even have a car trailer in my driveway.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to do it. I've kept stuff here. I'm willing to get it moved out. I moved away. I haven't talked to Dwayne in probably a year and a half, give or take. I moved to Colorado and I came back for family emergencies. My mother-in-law passed away. We took over that property. My living situation's a little bit better. We've cleaned it up. It's gotten worse. I have kids. Unfortunately, like in these couple pictures that are here, what is there is not there now.
But you can understand why you're here though, right?
Yes, I do. I went from about 4 different houses. Every time I moved out of a house, all my stuff went to my mother's.
Right, okay. We get that, and then we get that. So what we're gonna do is give you a time frame for you to commit to us. We gave the last guy 60 days. Is that what, right? Was it 60 days?
Yeah.
Does that work for you? I mean, you've
Yeah,
had 5
that's-
years, so we're gonna give you 60 more days?
Yep.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, I actually came here because this weekend I plan on getting all of it out. But I guess I want to try to understand something. With the limited space I have, I understand, like I've talked to Dwayne, the trash, the clutter, okay, the car parts. I guess the one thing I want to know that it's safe at my mother's is my Chevelle. I have no place to put it. I'm trying to make it to where it's like in a retirement. It was my grandfather's. I want to restore it.
Right.
But unfortunately, as a full-time mechanic, I do not make millions of dollars to do it.
So, Dwayne?
Yes, sir.
There's no problem with somebody having one car?
No, sir. You're allowed up to 3 vehicles that are not registered, so that.
If you have a question on any of that,
Could have that. Dwayne
Dwayne is more than happy to work with you. He just wants this to go away.
Right.
This is really hard on your neighbors, and
We've had some conversations. So when we first moved in 2007, we had the neighbors to our left. We had a conversation with. The property did not go all the way back to the privacy fence that you will see in the back. It made a direct L to their yard. Me and my father, which is sitting behind me, we had a verbal agreement that when the neighbor did a property zoning to figure out whose land is whose, he took out a bunch of fence. This used to be a farm. I took out chicken coops out of what was beside the garage.
Sure.
There was a verbal agreement that he would remove that fence that he tore down. A lot of the stuff in the back that's piled up is that fence still to this day.
So if that's your neighbors, Dwayne will take care of that.
And we requested to, pay half of a dumpster, help us out, because that was not our plan.
Any of the part of when it comes to payment or any of that thing, you'll be in a civil action.
Yeah.
But if the fence is a nuisance, according to our ordinances, Dwayne will treat him the same as he treats you. So I think the commission here is going to give you 60 days to clean it up. Is that going to be a motion here, Jerry?
That's my motion.
So we have a motion and a second from Hadcock.
Drew's.
We have a second from Drew. So we're going to give this gentleman 60 days to clean up his property, and then
60 days.
And then Dwayne will be back to, if you don't get it cleaned up in 60 days, we need to be fully clear.
Yes.
This is it. We're going to come in and clean it up for you, and it's going to, you can do it a lot cheaper than we can.
Yeah.
That's kind
we
of
don't
what I
wanna
was in
do
there.
it.
I was like, I didn't need to cost the state any more money on something that is.
Well, we don't really care if it
between us,
costs the
but-
state money. Let's
It's
be
when you
clear.
cost the county.
Our
yeah.
county or whatever,
Yeah.
but like, I wanted to get it, like, I've been talking to my mother, we've been trying to do it. I used to have help, and trying to get help to do something, I can't ask my dad, he's 73, my mom's 73, that's
We get it.
asking a lot.
No, we get it.
And
Well, we're
I
going to
have
give you
two
60
older
days.
kids that,
And thank you for coming in today and making your
Just-
plea.
I've just got one comment. So I do know who your mother is. And so in some of the correspondence I'm reading, I mean, your mother would like this cleaned up as well. So help your mother out.
yeah, I told her I'm gonna do what I can.
All right. Well, be a good son.
Trying to, I'm
Counting
trying
on
to get
you.
my kids to do
We're
the same.
counting on
to
you,
help.
brother, to be a good son. So that being said, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. You got 60 days, my friend.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for showing up and being a straight-up gentleman. Okay, we'll move on. We're going to take a 10-minute break, Dwayne. Are you okay with that? So we're back from our break, so we're going to move up to item number 12, items from Buildings and Grounds. Mr. Davis. The guy with two last names. Davis Purcell.
No one can ever get my first name right, so,
Well, they want to call you Dave or something?
yeah, usually.
As long as they don't
Okay.
call you late for dinner, we're good. All right.
Try to get you set up.
Sir, you have the
Later,
floor.
go ahead.
Do you need,
I shouldn't need anything. I'll get going. Anyways, Davis Purcell, Director of Buildings and Grounds for Pennington County. So what we have here is pretty much exactly what the memo states, is just trying to establish some protocol for acts of nature, emergency repairs, and insurance reimbursement. From time to time, outside of last year, as most of you know, we had to repair the jail annex roof. And that was a request that came forward to pay it in the same way that I'm asking today. But there's some other items that have happened over the last few months. We had a major power outage in November, and then we had a couple windstorms that came up throughout the last couple months as well. And essentially, a lot of these costs are obviously not foreseeable. They're not budgeted for necessarily in our department to pay for major losses as part of again, acts of nature or emergency situations, things like that. And in the past, I have come up and asked for the accumulated building fund to be utilized for these projects. And right now, what we have is we have some courthouse roof damage. We have some pretty costly elevator repairs, multiple broken windows, fence and landscape damage. We have some metal fascia damage on our jail annex building and a few other buildings. We also have a strobic system, which is it's used in the evidence labs to exhaust air out of that building. And then we have a highway shop that had some wind damage as well. So again, in the past, what would happen is, for the most part, at least since I've been here for roughly 3 years, is that these costs would essentially be paid for by Buildings and Grounds. And then when the county was reimbursed, it would just go into the general fund. Don't know if that's because of a motion that would need to be made at the time or how that went. I know that the accumulated building fund, which is outside of the Buildings and Ground budget, has been utilized for things like this in the past, but I don't technically have any spending authority for that. But again, we're starting to see invoices come in, and we have to pay for them. And these were all unforeseen costs due to acts of nature. That's where we're at.
So David, you want to figure out how to just account for this?
Well,
We
and
got to do this, so.
Yeah, I think the main thing, one of the things I mentioned in here is I think we should have some sort of process that's established, but we can go through that in the budget cycle for next year. But right now, I need to find some funds to pay for some of these fixes.
Okay, and I think,
Yep.
Jordan, we kind of had this conversation a little bit, maybe. Are you prepared to explain that?
Remember about supplements, that kind of thing, George?
Yes, of course. Yeah, we briefly talked about this. And so I do believe that the accumulated building fund exists because it is a separate levy that we have in our county consolidated levy. So it is a different fund, a restricted fund that is supposed to be used for facilities, maintenance, update, all that kind of stuff. You were mentioning, Commissioner Hadcock, that in the past, the goal was to keep that fund at a balance of about $1 million to handle things exactly like this, some unforeseen things, because then we also have levies that generate basically about $1 million in addition to all of the bond repayments that we're doing for the bond interest and principal. And so essentially what we're looking at is we don't have, obviously, and I guess maybe I'm misunderstanding the question here, Davis, is the request to say, give me authorization to start putting into the budget some earmarked money out of the accumulated building, or is it just right now for the current conditions we're trying to respond to something by paying monies out of the accumulated building fund? I guess I need clarification.
Yeah, it was your second statement.
Okay.
So we're just trying to get something done now, but I think we need to establish something moving forward for the future, because again, we can't plan unless the commission tells us to for hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential acts of nature, emergency repairs and stuff like that in our budget.
Right.
So again, and what's happened in the past is we have, not all the time, but most of the time, we would pay for some of this stuff out of departmental funds. And then if there was ever reimbursement from insurance, which there typically is, it would go into the general fund, not back into our budget. So essentially, it's just money unaccounted for. We didn't account to pay for.
Understood.
And now basically we've utilized those funds and can't use them for the rest of the year. So
and that's partly true and partly not true. So the one thing that I will say is that the Buildings and Grounds budget is in the general fund. So when the reimbursement goes back into the general fund, it's because the funds came out of the general fund. So what we're talking about here are a couple of different things. So the accumulated building fund is a restricted fund. It's a separate fund. And what Davis is suggesting is that he does not have the authority to spend from that without board approval. That's what he's requesting for right now, is that maybe some of these facility repairs come out of the accumulated building fund. And then when a reimbursement comes in, if it was spent out of that fund, the reimbursement should be coded back into that fund to replenish the fund back to the level that it would have originally been. Sorry, I wasn't. Oh, go ahead.
Chair?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for you to chime in. It took you long enough.
So with the damage, have we submitted for insurance reimbursement? We've submitted claims on all of this damage?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's one thing, because I know that there was a lapse, not on you, Walter, but there was a lapse before on submitting for insurance claims when we had some of this damage. And so just making sure that we have timely submittals to our insurance for the damage. So, and I think some of that we could have a discussion at budget time, but I'm going to make a motion to authorize Davis Purcell, Director of Buildings and Grounds, to expend up to $300,000 from the accumulated building fund to address emergency and weather-related facility repairs, subject to insurance reimbursement where applicable, with a full report provided to the commission and notification of any reimbursements received. And with that motion, then I would say, getting back to this just conversation, that if we expend out of that fund and the money comes in from insurance, that proceed go back into that restricted fund.
Absolutely.
Chair.
Did you make it a second?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. We have a motion and a motion from Durr, second from Hadcock.
And then follow-up.
Yep.
So originally, Mr. Davis knows I wasn't in favor of this, only because of the history. The $800,000, that was always your money in the first place, and we couldn't spend it. We could, but we never did because it already was planned, money planned for. Then the $1 million was the cumulative building. We started that back when I was with Buildings and Grounds and helping Buildings and Grounds, Mike Cole, with some stuff. So it made sense. And then what happened, it went into committee. And that committee started using that buildings and grounds, that cumulative building for stuff that probably at the time wasn't meant for it. I know it wasn't meant for it to be. But then we also put another 3.6 in there from COVID money that I remember as well. So that's why that budget is about, what, 3.4 right now, if I'm correct?
Yeah, it's about 3.4.
Okay. So I also know we don't have a policy right now, and that's why I'm agreeing with this, that we can make a policy in the future that when we use any money from it used to be 800, now it's $1 million in there and $1 million, well, 3.4 in the cumulative, that it's reimbursed back or put back in to buildings and grounds, because that money, if he's using it out of his budget, meaning his buildings and grounds budget, not as a cumulative building, he already has that earmarked. So, and that's what I was listening to Mr. Davis at the time, that you weren't getting the money back, and then that becomes problematic. So that's why I was, at this point, agreeing with this again, because we're changing the policy. We'll make sure at budget that we move forward in a way that works, and then we can always take this policy off and put the new one forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor.
And if I could piggyback off of what Commissioner
Yes,
Hadcock
Jordan,
just said.
Director Jordan.
Yeah, and to get back to the original point she wanted me to make is the fact that these are acts of nature. These are unanticipated, unforeseen. They are not budgeted for. So regardless, they're going to end up being a budget supplement somewhere. And what Davis has asked in his memo as well is that you just recognize that some of these things are beyond our control. He will provide all the numbers and say this has been submitted for
And
reimbursement.
then that's when we
But
look at it as a supplement.
yes,
and when
it'll
the
be a
money comes
supplement
back.
so that he also still has the ability to continue to do the projects that he is supposed to be
As
doing for
budgeted
the
for.
year, as budgeted.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're not,
If you would like, I could amend the motion to say you own this.
No, no, thank you.
would I have 100% confidence that he will spend that wisely? So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on to the next item. Are you done, Davis? No, yep. Items from emergency management. Dustin? No? No, emergency management. All right. Or you, sir, you have the floor.
Good morning, Commissioners. Adam Davis, Deputy Director of Emergency Management. Before you today requests authorization to purchase a 2026 3/4 ton pickup truck off of state bid. This was a forecasted expense in our current year budget and plan for.
We got a motion on the floor for this?
Second.
Have a motion from Hadcock, second by Durr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I just had one thing to say. When we had the high winds and the red flag warning and everything, and then, how did that work out for you guys? I know you guys have been planning for it, and you actually were threatened with the ability, the thought of shutting off the electric. So,
We had really good communication that morning. Dustin had been monitoring it over the weekend in communication with Black Hills Energy. They were at that time indicating that Pennington County was not going to be subject to what BHE refers to as a PSPS, or a public safety power shutoff. Early Monday morning, I received a phone call from them saying that their weather forecast had changed and they thought that Pennington, specifically out in the Hill City and Keystone areas, were going to be impacted. We started internally ramping things up, having communication with key stakeholders, letting them know that something may be happening.
So your plan was working out?
The plan worked out.
And the people in the community were?
Yep. It turned out to be a non-issue for Pennington. We
okay.
never actually got into those conditions as the day developed or the morning developed. They started to back down and ended up being pretty isolated to the Southern Hills area, and they ended up not killing the power to any region, ultimately within South Dakota, Colorado.
Power gets killed here when the auditor's office turns on all little space heaters over there, by the way. So if the power goes out, you know what happened. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
You guys have another item up here. Dustin, thank you.
Still good morning, right? Yep. Good morning, Commission. Dustin Willett, Director of Emergency Management for Pennington County. Second item on the agenda was a pleasant surprise, kind of came out of the blue. So our office has historically, since '87, relied on pass-throughs of the Emergency Management Performance Grant to help fund our operation. And for the first time in that 30-plus year history, in our 2025 budget year, those funds simply didn't make it to us. We'd met all the grant requirements, we'd submitted all the documentation, and through several different eventualities throughout the country, those funds got locked up, and quite frankly, a lot of folks had written them off. They didn't think that they'd ever see those funds get released or distributed. A couple weeks ago, we got an email from the state saying that the state had the money in the bank. They were able to reimburse for the 2025 LEMPG, the Local Emergency Management Performance Grant. However, from the federal government, there were new stipulations. So this body, the Board of Commission, had agreed to the requirements, the grant requirements for that original 25 grant. There are now new requirements attached to that that will require the board, the chair's signature on behalf of the board. I didn't think any of those were out of line. I ran all those new requirements past State's Attorney's Office. I ran them past our grant administrator. I ran them past Sheriff Mueller, and nobody has had any issues with what those new grant requirements are. But in full transparency, I wanted to make sure that the board saw what that was, what those grant requirements were, and our second item is to request the chair's signature on those updated grant agreements so that we can claim the money from the 2025 LEMPG that the state has made available.
I'll move approval.
Okay. Second. I have a motion from Hadcock, second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that's awesome, because I know you guys had readjusted, so that could help maybe.
Yeah, there might
fill
be some
of those
follow-on
gaps.
discussions after that, but it is relatively unsuspected and good news.
So yeah, this was unanticipated revenue in '26.
Correct. It was anticipated in '25. We didn't have it. We made some significant cuts
Right.
to make that happen, and now that money has been
Perfect.
stands to be dispersed now that we have this signature. So we'll come back with exactly what that means and what that positions emergency management to do.
So items from Human Resources. Thanks, Dustin. I appreciate
And
it.
I did read the changes from the Trump administration. I thought they were great, so.
There you go.
So items from HR. Walter, do you want to let us know what this is about, sir?
I'm sorry, sir?
You got to let us know what this is about?
Will do, sir. Walter McDuff, Pennington County Risk Manager. Last meeting, I brought to you guys about a survey to get your permission, but that is not required for your permission because it's not changing county policy. So basically, we're just asking for you guys to.
Okay. Well, this is really to see where our employees stand, what they have to say,
sir.
and kind of solicit. You're going out soliciting information from them to see where there's opportunities.
Yes, sir. There'll be a survey going out. Because this was continued, I need to, what's the term?
Yes, so in essence, because this was continued from a previous meeting by motion, it had to be placed on this agenda. No action is requested right
So
now.
does
The board
anybody
can
up
just
here
let
have a
this
question
item
No
die.
questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Items from the commission. TIF number 89, High Point. TIF's amendment, this is a TIF amendment for High Point, North Lift Station. Do you know about this, Brittany? Do you want to cover anything on here?
Brittany's not in here.
Left, that's why. Okay.
All right, so I'll touch on this if that's all right, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
Okay. So item 15A here is, of course, an amendment, the first amendment proposed to TIF number 89. And so it's already been approved. It was authorized for the High Point North Lift Station, TIF number 89, through the city. As with any amendment, as with any TIF, they're asking whether or not the Board of Commissioners has any comments that they want to make on this. The most important thing to note about this is that it does not change any of the project cost. All it does is it reallocates existing costs from what they thought would be debt service into higher construction costs, the way that it was at least explained to me. And so, and also through Commissioner Drew's conversations with Mike Dugan with the city, the TIF guy, we made sure that included into the project was the $15,000 administrative cost for the county for this, because this would have predated the implementation of that administrative fee, and it is going to be included in this amendment.
So then we don't really need to do anything on A?
Yep.
And then B, is the B related to A? Oh, this is.
No, sorry, yeah,
No, wait,
if you
this is
wanted to.
actually B, this is about This is about Commissioner Drews hanging out in Pier.
So are we done with item A? I'm sorry.
We don't need anything on item A. It looks like
Okay.
no action.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so item B is Commissioner Drews.
Okay, I'll touch on a few things. We're still, over a week away from the end of the session, and so a lot of the, what I would say are the most important or valuable bills are still yet to be dealt with. One of those does include Governor Roden's sales tax bill, which would provide an option of a half a cent sales tax to replace property tax. I think that's on the floor today. It did pass the Senate 20-14, and I believe it's on the floor of the House today.
Cool.
And quite frankly, I think that this is probably going to go through. They may try to add some additional things onto it, some of the other legislators, but I think it'll probably come through pretty unscathed at the end of it.
It's really the only option for some property tax relief, though, if you think about all we've seen. It'll be, basically, they're gonna require the county to opt into that program and then actually have to, say if they collect $20 million in sales tax, and they'll have to alleviate $20 million of property tax. Is that correct, Gary, to say that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Here.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Can I ask
Commissioner
a
Hancock.
question? So property tax are based on budgets. So if you add 20 million to our budget
No,
with sales tax every year,
then you
it's
got,
based on budgets, you're gonna take 20 million off
yep.
of that, we already know, budgets times, what, 0.84 equals amount you need to collect.
What they're saying.
Well, how does that change when the amount is still the same? Meaning if we keep our budget at, okay, we keep it at 131, and next year, they're gonna put the 20 in, it's still, we'd have to.
We have to drop this property tax by that same amount, make it a net zero.
So how are you gonna do that through properties and not through budgets? Because I keep saying, and people are messing with the formulas, but your bottom line, isn't it? Budgets times levy equals how much they have to collect. So if the budget doesn't change in Pennington County, because we've taken it out of property taxes, how does that change what we have to collect in the long run?
It doesn't. You're gonna have to collect it with sales tax and/or property taxes. So whatever we collect in sales tax has to be a offset to the property tax. So if property tax is 100,000 and we collect 20,000 in sales tax, then we have to drop the property tax to 80,000.
What if
So
you
it
don't
changes
change?
the mill levy.
What if you don't change the percentage of each person, what they're charged for their property tax?
You
What
do
if
have
you,
to.
what if you raise the property taxes high enough, then add the 20 million, then take it off, and it's a wash? Is that what we're looking at, we're trying to get to?
No, it's going to be all part of the formula. It'll be a pretty detailed formula on how that all works. The county will be heavily involved in
I guess
all that.
what I've seen from the state is it doesn't end up benefiting as much as we think. I would hope it would, because I appreciate them doing the sales tax, but I'm gonna be a skeptic on that bottom line of how it really affects
This is the only one
the
that has.
taxes.
This is the only one that makes any sense when it comes, everything else they talked about, I don't even think those people know how property taxes work.
And I agree, but that's why I said.
This is the only one that makes any
I
sense.
wanted to see if by that formula and how budgets work and how formulas work, if that actually makes the difference, or we just increased government spending
No.
by $20 million in the long run by how those property taxes are affected and how we change the formula, how you collect property taxes and do equalization.
If you get sales tax in for $20,000, you gotta reduce property taxes by that same amount.
The amount of property taxes you collect. But
Sales
what if the
tax.
property taxes
The amount of
are
sales tax you
collected
collect.
and they raise the property taxes high enough? You see what I'm saying? And then add the 20 million, then take it off. Is it a wash? I'd like to
Have to
see
make
what
it a
that
wash.
formula ends up like the first year.
What they're trying to do is make it a wash. So then there's a real savings on property tax to people.
And I can appreciate that, but from what I've seen from spending in the state, city, county, or otherwise, that seems to not ever wash. It seems to add to it.
We're
So
gonna make you quit spending, so.
that wouldn't be me.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Ross.
That is up to the discretion of each county. If they
Yeah,
want
your
to do it.
counties
We're
will
not
have to
forcing
opt
do
in
that.
because there's a lot of them that don't collect sales tax to the level that we do, you know, the Rapid City, Pennington County collects sales tax that helps fund a lot of these rural community schools and stuff, which those people don't quite understand.
Right.
So every opportunity we get to create sales tax is a direct offset, not really a direct, but indirect offset to what people have to pay in property tax. So people need to keep that in mind when they're shooting down sales tax.
And you're right, it's going to change the mill levy, which will,
Well, the bottom line is sales tax is discretionary, and if sales tax ever went down, property tax has been around since 1933. We fund ourselves through property tax in the county. If that sales tax goes down, then you're 20 million down in property taxes. So think about if your sales tax, so far we've done well. What happens when sales tax or other counties, cities, or states went down and their budgets got bankrupt from trying to rely on property taxes?
Yeah.
So if you don't have the sales tax, the property tax comes back up.
Yep.
So one of the things, this commission does owe a debt of gratitude for many of our elected officials and department heads for their work during the legislative session. They have saved us many dollars being involved in bills that would have put additional charges on counties. One of them I have in front of me, Senate Bill 183. It was a bill that sounded good. It's giving more transparency to the taxpayers. If there's an opt-out, like by the school district, there would have to be additional notices sent out by the county explaining this, additional cost of mailing expense, production, etc. The bill was essentially killed last week on the floor because of Minnehaha and Pennington County. And but the sponsor, which was Amber Hulse, one of our legislators here, did go back in and change that and put it so that whoever the opt-out entity is, which could be in the case of the county, we haven't had opt-outs, but Minnehaha counties had many opt-outs, that the costs of doing that additional notice would be put on whoever's doing the opt-out. So in our case, probably school district.
Awesome.
In that
That's
case.
a good deal, because Amber usually passes or looks at some pretty good stuff, or at least she's willing to adjust.
It wasn't a bad bill. It's just that it was another mandate for counties to pay.
I get it. That's why I don't think that they know how property taxes work down there.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole rebate thing is one that kicked me. It's like, oh, we're gonna, you know, like Commissioner Hadcock saying, we're gonna set our budget and then we're gonna ask for this money and then somebody up there is gonna give a rebate. I'm like, how can you give a rebate when the budget is what it is? It doesn't make any sense.
As I mentioned to you, Mr. Chair, before, there is a bill to establish a task force to study emergency medical services and essential services and the funding thereof. And that's something, obviously, it's going to take the course of the next year in order to complete that, but that may bring some relief or some suggestions and options for the.
And like I mentioned to Commissioner Drews, that we ventured down a road just partially about helping the county and some areas around us, because they're getting challenged with this opportunity to start ambulance districts, and that's as far as we're going to go into it. We're going to help them set up the district and help them get the proper notifications and stuff that they need to get done to start their districts, but the funding of it and all that stuff is going to be on them. So go ahead, yeah, Commissioner Hadcock.
So I'm glad to hear that, because that's where I was talking to Gabe Doney that we're doing wanting to do, instead of taking some of that sales tax money that people were visiting within the state and wanting to put some of that towards the ambulance service for these counties. So it makes sense for the people using the service to put money in that service. So that's why I was saying it. I was getting skeptical on some of that property tax and some of the stuff, because then they started talking about where they wanted to put that sales tax for the county or where we should, so.
No, that sales tax for the county's already spent. So, but like Commissioner Drews wanted to remind me is we're not going down that rabbit hole with them on these districts. We're gonna help them put the districts together, and they're on their own. They're gonna fund them, they're gonna run them. All we're gonna do is help them establish them, and so maybe they need to be aware of this state.
They do.
Okay, so I'll talk to Jerome, and I mean, And I don't want to throw Jerome under the bus because he's actually doing the fire stuff, but they just, what? Yep. All right.
Okay, Senate Bill 130 is the Ellsworth Road funding bill.
Oh, perfect, yep.
And I think we overwhelmed them on that. We received much more support than ever anticipated on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I was there to testify before the Joint Appropriations Committee last week. Passed out of that committee unanimous, 18-0.
Perfect.
Went to the Senate floor, passed unanimous on the Senate floor, is up in the House today. And we're, hopefully, we don't know for sure on some of the eastern South Dakota ones, but hopefully the message is carried through, and it requires a 2/3 vote, so.
Well, I know the mayor and the council at Box Elder appreciates your efforts there, Gary, because they are under the gun that fix these roads, and if you've driven through there, there's no money to drive those repair costs, and they're just getting beat to death, so.
Yep. I mentioned this 2 weeks ago. The Senate Bill 154 is the one to clarify the eligibility of multiple garages or structures to be classified as owner-occupied. This last week, during the testimony on that, I discovered that there was 40 counties that were doing it one way and 26 counties doing it the other way. And so obviously, the State Department of Revenue came forward and said, this is on us. We need to get this clarified so the counties understand which way they need to be operating on it. I don't know.
I know we were in one or the other.
Senate Bill 228 is the bill. There was a number of tax increment financing bills that were floating through the legislature. This one seemed to be the one that kind of survived. It was really done by the South Dakota Municipal League. And what it doesn't make a lot of changes to it, but one of the positive changes I think to it is that if you're going to overlay one TIF over the top of another one, you have to bring all the government entities together. In our case, like with Rapid City, county and the city would have to be there. And in order to do that, you'd both have to adopt resolutions authorizing that.
I think that's a good idea. And I think the one really nice thing about it is with this commission and with the administration at the city, and we have really worked hard on building a tight, relationship. So when we do have some concerns, they step right in and go, okay, let's make this right. So I think people build those relationships as their best bet. So Gary,
that's all
thanks
I
again.
have today.
Oh, thank you. That was a lot. That was good. That's good stuff. So
Chair.
Question for Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, anything on, I see eminent domain carbon pipelines and other sources of revenue for the school districts?
Yeah, I don't think those have received a final passage at this point in time. Again, probably is going to happen this week,
Okay.
on those. So.
Commissioner Hadcock, you had a question? Or?
So I read one of their bills, and I should have wrote it down. It was about housing authorities and how they're using some of that money for the infrastructure for airports.
Oh, that the housing.
Oh, yeah, I can explain that.
Thank you.
So Governor Nome had put like $200 million into housing authority for housing projects. The money was not used as immediate as what they expected. And so what they've basically done is they've borrowed $30 million from that fund at this point in time, $15 million of it going to the Rapid City Airport, $15 million going to the Sioux Falls Airport on loans. That money, I think, is all designed to be paid back to the housing authority.
Thank you, Gary. My concern is our housing authority for us. We've done really well. Ron can attest to that. And I don't remember them when we asked for money that they gave it to different developers and stuff for affordable housing instead of for the housing authority. And it might not have been, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't that same money. But we were looking at different areas in Rapid City to clean up with the housing authority that I'm on, member of the Pennington County Housing Authority. And that was never an option for us. A good way to put it is I can't understand why they're saying it's not being used, but I will look into that further, Gary. Not that I'm opposed to doing the airports and doing the loans since they have the money in there, that's smart, because, you know, economic development through airports is huge, but I'll have to look into it a little bit further, but I'm glad you kind of clarified some of that.
Yeah, thank you. All done, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Gary, and appreciate you spending all that time down there and straightening them people out. Okay, let's move on to the next item. I guess the next items are updates from us, right, or from each?
We're down to 15C, the Personnel Action Report Direction.
Okay.
And I can brief you on that if you're ready.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, kind of what we say here in this little public blurb is that although the board direction in early 2025, you guys had actually made an informal direction that you wanted more personnel information and the personnel action report to be put onto the agenda to be approved, acknowledged during the consent agenda. Certain information was included, certain was not, and there has been a little bit of confusion between staff in different departments as to what exactly all needs to be captured there. And so I would like board clarification to make sure that we can communicate that to all the different departments and offices and say, this is what we're going to be including in the personnel action report. As a little bit of a history here, it's SDCL 6110 only requires the Board of Commissioners, a county basically, to report when a wage goes up or when a new employee is added during the middle of the year in the minutes. That does not mean it has to be an agenda item, but it was the direction of this board to include an agenda item that included a personnel action report that tried to capture some of the changes, promotions, some demotions, transfers, that kind of stuff. And so we just want formal clarification through an official motion of the board that allows then staff to start to develop a standard operating procedure or something to that nature that says this is what departments have to do to present the appropriate information to the board for transparency's sake. Anytime a pay or classification or any sort of change occurs, they want some of that information captured, or they want clarification on whether or not that information needs to be captured in a report to the board.
Commissioner Hadcock.
So it used to be that way, if you guys remember any time that we had that, it was supposed to, in executive session, they were going from a 14A to a 14D, step 3, that kind of thing. I just haven't seen that for I don't know how long. So stuff like that was very informational, and then we could ask the question, and then promotions or somebody getting something more pay, there was always an explanation. And I just haven't seen that, and I like that because it was easy to make that decision at that time. So we used to do it. I don't know what happened to the policy, or we just did it in executive session and not here. And I said before, when you're doing the personnel, a lot of times, and we're doing it now, it's transparency. If someone got a promotion or someone got something in, and I'll keep saying it, in their departments, it's a positive. And then we can also speak for those people, why they're getting promotion, why they're getting stuff, because we have the information. And it makes it a lot easier. Today was confusing, I'll just tell you, because one said it was in personnel, and the other said when the guy was getting promoted. The other guy was gonna get it promoted when the other guy retired, so I was confused, and that's why I had brought it forward and didn't understand. And then, because we have done that for other people because of our budgets and other thing, to be consistent, that was the bottom line. But it's nice to see if you're going from a 4A to a 4C, and then, okay, I'm gonna use Laura as an example, because they have done this, and this, and they should get that promotion, they should get that extra money, maybe not a promotion, but just going, okay, we gave them a merit, but Deb did 3 different trainings. She's almost ready to do the next step for civil defense attorney, and now she's 1 step off. And if I did that, it would be actually 7 steps. We're going to give her 3 because she's in that training and she's going to the next step. It's easy to say it for transparency to the public and to other people. Awesome job. You know what I'm saying? So you can't just keep giving money or giving stuff without an explanation to your commissioners as well, because as Jerry has always said, and people have said, we take care of the budgets. We're not saying you're doing a bad job or you're doing it wrong in one sense. We're saying it's easy for transparency for us to know all the information as well that you might have in your departments about these individuals that are, Okay, I'm gonna use it as an example, Adam. Adam might have the experience already to become the state's attorney anyway, and maybe she's just saying, okay, at 300,000, it's not just that, I'm gonna raise him up the next time too, because he has that experience plus. That would've been nice to know, all his experiences, and he has a job description. Now he's past that job description, because now where he is today is way past that, and that's also why I'm doing that. So some of that makes a difference for me to move forward.
So Jordan, would it be fair to say these bullet points are what we need to address?
Yeah, it's all included in that motion. And to speak to Commissioner
This-
Hadcock's
If we
point-
make this motion, that'll clarify, and well, that's the way it'll go.
That'll give the clarification. And so to Commissioner Hadcock's point, though, what she's also asking for, and this would be something that may not have to be an official motion, but if the HR office is going to provide some sort of brief or a memo, there's information that you had just kind of described there that I think may not fall as public information. It may be executive content, but we'll be able to straddle that line and figure out exactly what can be reported, what should not be reported.
Well, if it
because I
goes
definitely
through
don't
HR,
want-
that'll be in HR if
Exactly.
somebody has a question, so I think that's fine.
Yep.
It's just that it's available through your HR department, correct?
Sure.
Not to interrupt you, Ron, but actually it was through HR and the department, so they had that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm, Commissioner Durr, you had a question?
No, I'm just going to move that all personnel actions affecting compensation, FT authorization, benefit eligibility, employment status, or classification be included in the personnel action report and presented for acknowledgement at the regular meeting.
Have a motion from Durr and a second by Hadcock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. My computer just went crazy again. You'd think I could afford a good computer, but, so. This just takes us up to updates, reports from commissioners. I don't really have anything. I don't know if Gary wanted to add to his.
We have an item D.
Oh, okay. County HR operations status update. Jordan?
Yeah, so this is just an update. We were requested, Commissioner Durr and myself were requested to bring back within, basically after 30 days, some recommendations for county HR
Okay, good.
operations.
Okay,
We are not ready to make those official recommendations yet. We're still in the gathering phase of information. We've almost reached out now to every single employee and touched base with everyone in HR, and we've been talking to the departments. And I think we've got an idea now of how to build a presentation for you guys at the March 17th meeting. And so you'll see a full-blown presentation with options and how we should move forward with county HR operations. But if you guys have any questions on anything
I
that
don't
was
have any
provided-
questions. I had someone reach out to me and I explained just what you explained, so.
Is March 17th St. Patty's Day?
Oh, is it?
It is.
That's going to be a fun meeting.
I'm asking.
It is. You're ahead of yourself with the green today.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's ahead of himself, right? That red hair and that green shirt. Okay,
I used
so
to have some
now we'll
red in
move
my
on
hair.
to items from commissioners. So, Gary, did you have to add anything to yours?
Yeah, just a couple things. I attended the 4-H board meeting, extension board, advisory board. They're working on things for this spring, and then eventually all the things that take place for leading up to the Central States Fair. But they're continuing with all their education programs in the schools and the library and so forth. It's a very active group, a very active board that's on there, and the board is just getting more active.
Thank you, sir.
And then I did attend also the latest meeting of the Complete Health Center. And I probably don't need to say this, but they financially, they struggle with the amount of dollars that they have. As we know, a year ago, just about a year ago right now, they did close one of their outside centers, that being the General Beetle Center, and tried to move everything from there over to the main clinic. And they're discussing how to future economies for themselves to try to survive.
They really make a lot happen over there, though, don't they?
Oh, they do, absolutely do.
I mean, I've heard, people that have gone there have heard, so, I mean, they've been so happy with the service and everything. We appreciate that. We're going to move on to Commissioner Durr. Did you have anything to add?
Wheaton Pest Board meeting last Wednesday. If you recall, there were some federal dollars that were not trickling down for, the Wheaton Pest Department to bring on part-time employees throughout the summer to do some of that work, and some of those dollars Scott has gone through, and it looks like some of the funding we did not get last year. There's going to be some trickle-down money to do some of the work, and so instead of one part-time employee. We're looking at 4 to 5 part-time employees this summer to help out seasonally. And there's great coordination between Scott and like working with the highway department. They're doing a kind of a right-of-way cleaning up in the hills and with I don't remember the name of the road, but anyway, I mean, there's good cooperation within our county departments about working together. Weed and Pest does a great job working with highway department and doing timber harvest. And then, we're actually able to sell that timber, so it's a win-win.
They do an incredible job in that. I mean, in the Weed and Pest. So, Commissioner Roskinek, sir.
18th, I attended Pennington County Housing Redevelopment. That's just our monthly meeting. On the 19th, we had a Pennington County Council of Aging meeting here at the administration building. Jordan attends those, and it's helping us through that process. And thank you for being able to answer some of the questions. So we are moving forward in an advisory capacity. On the 25th, I attended the Hill City Housing Trust Fund Advisory Board. We're working with Black Hills Area Community Foundation, Greg Litton, and USDA Rural Development. We are trying to identify housing projects that would be considered affordable, no more than 30% of a person's annual gross income, and that would be a combination of rent and utilities. On the 28th, I did a site inspection for the Russ Johnson Snowbird Hideaway proposed development, identifying that second means of egress, and that's what I have today.
Thank you. That money that the state has, Gary, is any of that available for like what Ron's talking about? Affordable housing, isn't that what it was originally supposed to be for? That 200 million?
Mr. Chair.
Wasn't it supposed to go to contractors or something?
So there's 2024 Rounds made an announcement at Elevate that there's $30 million. I think it came from the Farm Bill. $5 million, if I recall, $5 million was allocated for Box Elder, 5 for Rapid City. The other $20 million was supposed to be distributed through the Black Hills communities. So you got Hill City, Custer, whatnot. And right now, that fund is being administered through HUD. So
okay,
that's where that money came from.
Perfect. Okay, thanks. Commissioner Hadcock, you have the floor.
Went and visited with Russ Johnson, took me a tour in his four-wheeler in the surrounding areas, told me some history. That was pretty good. Also, on the Pennington County Housing, I have a problem with my deviated septum, so I have been having some major headaches, pretty bad headache that day. Started the meeting and left about half hour into it, so thank you, Ron, for attending. The LAPC, we talked about some of it today. Adam talked about budget, which is good, and we also decided everybody had the chair and vice chair be the same, so it was pretty funny. So good team, a lot of stuff about different areas with the base and just all of Rapid City, their police department, fire department, different people that attend. It's just a really good meeting on some minds of basically our strategic planning for any emergencies that might happen. Thank you, Dustin and Adam. Also, the fairgrounds. So the fairgrounds is pretty exciting. Fairgrounds had the best fair they've ever had. You know, they had about 700 and some participants for livestock for kids, showing livestock, goats and cattle and all kinds of things. That's the biggest they've ever had. They also had their volunteers. In some areas they were short, but they still had other people come in and fill in for them. So that was pretty amazing. And the participants were just huge this year in every event. They also sold the horse for the most they ever had. It was like $65,000 for one horse. So that was pretty awesome. Anyway, big shout out to all the volunteers and all the people that made that fair happen, because we'll keep saying it and we'll say it over and over again. That's huge economic development for the surrounding area and all the people that come here. Put in some major bucks into that, and that event, that stock show is just one of the biggest for South Dakota on anything they do. So, and it's talking about ag. So ag is not going to die anytime soon, obviously, because it keeps growing. And they couldn't talk enough about how many participants and things that came in from other states that they've never had before. So pretty awesome. And those kids also from other states, that's what made that bigger than it ever was, so, thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes that, and so it looks like we're going to go to, we need a motion for executive session, but if the motion maker includes all these items, personal matter, contractual pending litigation, and security critical systems.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll clarify what that motion probably should look like. It's going to be moved to enter executive session pursuant to SDCL 125(2)(1), 3, and 6 for the purposes of discussing personnel, current litigation, and facility security.
Thank you.
So move.
Have a motion from Durr, second by Hadcock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are in executive session. Thank you. Have a motion to come out of executive session?
So move. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Motion to adjourn? Motion from, in a second?
Second.
From, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. So, thanks, guys. Good meeting.